Juan Pierre steps in against Jorge De La Rosa. Glad you're with us on this Memorial Day, and the first pitch of the ball game is just beneath the knees, ball one. Juan Pierre has started every ball game in the absence of Manny Ramirez. Today is the 17th ball game they've played without Manny. Swung on and missed, and it's 1-1.
Got a good idea by De La Rosa too. After missing with the fastball, you come back in a breaking ball to the very first hitter. I know here a lot of times when you see first pitch fastball for a ball that you're anticipating the next pitch to be a fastball.
Well, especially leading off the ball game.
And that's down low. 2 balls and a strike.
Drew, you talked about the weather and how it's pretty nice down here towards field level. It's a little humid, but besides that, it's very little wind down here, and the field's in great shape.
Well, that kind of goes without saying with Mark Razum and his gang. And I always say that when people think at home, well, we're just saying that, take care of the home crew. It's really true. The Rockies' playing surface, for all of the weather conditions that Mark Razum and his group have to deal with, from late March through September, they really do a magnificent job. Here's the 2-2 to Juan Pierre, and a bouncing ball to Tulowitzki, and he throws out Pierre. Good start for De La Rosa. One gone as we take a look at our Burt Automotive keys to the game. Frage, what do you have?
Well, I think obviously you're back into the West, where the Rockies have gone 9-13. The Dodgers 20-8 in playing within the division. This is time to make a little haste, or they like to say. De La Rosa will be up on the hill today. Obviously a bounce back situation. They don't have Manny Ramirez yet, still playing very good baseball.
Well, the 2-hole hitters, Russell Martin, and Martin over his last 16 games hitting .321. He got off to a slow start in April. Typically he's been much better in the first half than the second half. Another chance for Tulowitzki, which is not unusual for catchers that get a ton of work. 2 outs. And that'll bring up Orlando Hudson. A reminder, as we tell you each and every broadcast, if the Rockies score 7 or more, which they do with regularity at home, go to Taco Bell tomorrow between 4 and 6 in the afternoon. Receive 4 tacos for $1 with the purchase of a drink. Now that's a steal. Here's the O-Dog, or O-Dog. I said it like I was back in New York, George. Dog. D-A-W-G.
Yeah, dog.
Dog.
Yeah.
You spent time there.
Hot dog.
Hot dog.
You remember that, Huey? Yeah,
hot dog, Diddy. Get your hot dog.
Who wants a hot dog? Give me 2 dogs.
Right here.
Give me 2 dogs and 2 beers. All right, we got that out of our system. 0-1 is the count on Hudson. There's a super dog. That's down low. 1-1. Hudson, a switch hitter. Came up with Toronto. Last few years did an outstanding job in Arizona, and he stays in the division playing for the Dodgers. He told me earlier this is the most talented team he has ever been on. And he was on some pretty good Diamondback teams.
George made a good point in our open about the veteran presence of Orlando in that clubhouse too.
Well, I think, Jeff, and a lot of that goes back to Jeff Kent, where they had the squabble.
Oh, yes.
And then in August, he got hurt and he left the ball club. They were .500 with Manny Ramirez and Jeff Kent. And when Kent got hurt and left, that's when they took off at the latter part of August. Not to take a slam at Kent, but he really created some tidal waves in that locker room for Joe Torre and his ball club with some comments he made about the younger kids.
Here's the 3-1 on Hudson, and it's chopped foul. Orlando brings a 14-game hitting streak into the ball game. He's hitting .361 during that stretch. 2 for 6 career-wise against De La Rosa.
And if you look at his splits, righty to lefty, there's no difference. Just 2 points lower from the right side at .341.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
.343 righty against righties, .341 against southpaws. Here we go, 3-2 with 2 outs. And De La Rosa misses inside. Stretch out the ribcage for Hudson. He'll go to first.
Well, trying to come inside, but not this far. And as you see where Toriyama's setting extremely inside, trying to get the ball down and in, not to allow Hudson to extend. Well, ball just got away from him.
And Casey Blake steps up. Orlando, one of the better conversationalists in the game, chats up Todd Helton at first. Blake, the former Cleveland Indian, has settled in nicely with the LA Dodgers, hitting .305, 9 home runs, and 28 driven in.
Well, surprisingly, he had 8 most of the season. And, you know, everybody said, well, we got Blake's our best guy, power guy, driving in runs. He's hitting 8. Then you look at the numbers, .305 for an 8-hole hitter.
I asked him that earlier. I said, did you ever hit 8 before this season with the Dodgers? And he said, you know, I did a little bit my first couple of years with Cleveland, even hit 9. Well, you know, that's when he was just establishing himself. But Jeff Houston, that just gives you an idea how good this lineup is when Manny's in there. And it's not bad right now either. But when you have Ethier in there and Manny in there, you have Casey Blake hitting 8th, to George's point.
Depth. I mean, that's the thing for Joe Torre. Have the depth, and when Ethier, James Loney, all those guys able to do it, and Blake there. And we always talk about having a balanced lineup, being able to not worry about who was hitting 2nd, 4th, 7th, 8th. But then the versatility then of Casey Blake when Manny goes out, or to come in and hit in the 4 spot. I mean, how nice is that for Joe Torre to say, you know what, I have confidence in this guy that he's not going to become a different type of player just because I put him in the 4 hole.
And De La Rosa steps off the bat. Did you do that much, George, where you just wanted another set of signs and you want to take a breath?
Well, I think sometimes maybe you're just not sold on the pitch, you know, in your mind. It may be the best pitch at this time as far as Torre was concerned, but in your mind it's not. And it's just like, all right, let me step back, get my mindset straight, and let's go with the pitch. Because obviously, you know, as you look into home plate, sometimes you see certain things with the hitters. Like I watched Pierre a minute ago with 2 strikes. All of a sudden you saw as he started his delivery, Pierre took like a mini step towards De La Rosa, thinking breaking ball, spread out a little farther, choke up a little more back control.
Swung on and missed, so Blake out in front of an off-speed delivery. De La Rosa strikes him out. Hudson left at first. We'll see the Rockies with the bats when we come back. Wet weather this morning. De La Rosa had a solid first inning. There's Clint Hurdle, and here is his lineup. Dexter Fowler will lead things off for the Rockies. Dexter, along with Todd Helton, led the Rockies with 11 hits on the road trip. Dexter starting to really come on again offensively, has the average at 271. Tulowitzki and Helton will follow. Then Ryan Spilborghs will split up the lefties. Brad Hopp, after a day off yesterday, back in there with a 326 average, and he's hit a couple home runs this year against LA already. Garrett Atkins had a double in his final at bat yesterday in Detroit. Clint Barmas, your Victoria Alba, and Jorge De La Rosa. And here's the scouting report brought to you by Fidelity. George?
87-91, more into the high 80s than it will be above 90 for Stultz. And he's a guy, too, that likes to work a curveball, changeup 77-81. Fastball away. Tries to keep everybody off balance. Changeup's probably his secondary pitch, his #1 pitch.
Well, Dexter Fowler swings at the first pitch. That works out nicely. Left center field. See if he goes for 2. Long strides. Here's a throw by Kemp. A little bit late. Leadoff double. Dexter Fowler.
Soft outfield, so when that ball hits, it's not going to have a lot of carry or roll on the baseball. Dexter realizing that, good jump out of the box, and he just took off. Kemp didn't get after the baseball very well in the outfield. With that type of speed at the plate, you've got to be able to get after the ball and minimize the damage, minimize the advantage the Rockies took care of here with the ball into left center field.
Well, fortunately, he didn't slip coming around first. It was just a little bit soft, and one of his foot just kind of peeled out underneath him just a little bit, and we've seen guys fall before when that happens.
Troy Tulowitzki will try to move him along. 5 home runs, 14 RBIs for Tulowitzki. And he shortened up, pulled the bunt back, so it's a ball.
Well, here's what I was talking about. When Dexter came running around first base, he hits the bag just fine, and then that second stride, whoops, it's kind of still slick underneath. They got the top layer very nicely with that turfus, they call it, but underneath it's still a little moist, and his foot slipped out, but fortunately he stayed upright.
How about this, Huey? 6 of the last 12 hits for Dexter, extra base hits.
Well, we've seen that, and both from the right side and the left side. And what the other thing that I really like from Dexter now is he's going up there and firing at the first pitch sometimes. And that's okay from a leadoff hitter, because you don't want to just automatically take that first pitch every time.
2-0 on Tulowitzki. And that's in there for a strike. The thing that's wonderful about watching Fowler, you guys have all had the opportunity to be teammates with young players that became good players and then great players. You know, Dexter Fowler's in his big league infancy, but you keep seeing growth. Each week you see something different. You see him adjust. You've had some down weeks. And then you see him counterpunch.
Yeah, you do, and I think that's the important side of things. I think he's realizing, too, that he doesn't have to hit the ball out of the ballpark, relax, throw your hands at the baseball. Just try to minimize, I think, the damage that you can do and take advantage of the tools that's been given to him.
Got a lefty out there too, Huey. Sometimes I know you're a base stealer. You like to take off with those lefties when they get in that blind spot.
Yeah, and that's why we saw Stoltz just a second ago turn around, do the inside, anything to keep that guy from doing that. They do have that blind spot once they come up. Conversely, the right-handers, when they come up, they can still see you out of the corner of their eye. The lefties, because it's the back of their head, they just can't do it.
Well, I think it probably helps a little bit. Advantage, you got Rick Honeycutt as a pitching coach, former left-hander. Probably emphasizes a little bit of that, particularly with the running game, and how many times Dexter has stole third base so far.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Tulowitzki. No score. Fowler a leadoff double. Oh, boy, duck. You okay?
It was over the dugout. It didn't get me. I'm okay.
What you're telling us, is you never saw it. Yeah. You just heard it hit something.
I did. That was too hard.
We were watching from up here, and the thing ricocheted back onto the field, and then Huey ducked.
Yeah, it was after it came back onto the field.
Reactions aren't the same as when you were playing.
Tell me about it.
Tim McClellan, the home plate umpire, talking to Tulowitzki, said, take the donut off your bat.
Well, that was just one of those what we call emergency hacks, where he was not sure if it was going to be a strike or a ball, and almost took it right out of the catcher's glove. And just say, I'm going to tell. We've seen Todd Helton do that before, where they just see it at the last instance. I'm going to try to foul it off.
Yeah, he's got a PhD in that.
Yes, he does.
There's Todd getting ready for his AB. Here's the emergency hack.
Well, I mean, that ball is just about 6 inches away from going into Russell Martin's glove. He hit it right on the label.
What's the whole?
Well, somebody was hurt over here, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
That's the scary thing about sitting right above the dugout. The reaction times are so fast.
And we mention this a few times each year, and it bears repeating. When you come to the ball game and you're sitting down there at field level, marvelous seat, but make sure you're paying attention out of the field. This ball is fouled off, looping into the seats down the right field line. tell you what, if you kid about reaction time, but it can be very dangerous. Right over those dugouts and even further down the right and left field lines. And you got a little one. Make sure you get your body in front. Good at bat going here for Tulowitzki against Eric Stoltz. Good eye, 3-2. Tulowitzki, a mini 3-game hit streak going. Hit safely in 11 of his last 14. He's yet to get super hot, though. The first week of the season, he got out of the gate sharply and then tailed off. And swung on a miss. So Stoltz gets a big strikeout there because despite the length of the at-bat, Tulowitzki unable to move Dexter Fowler.
And again, this is more of a cutter on the inner half of the plate. I want to ask you real quick here, what part of the at-bat do you give up trying to hit the ball to the right side with nobody out and a runner on second, or do you continue it all the way through the at-bat to try to force it? Because on that pitch there, it appeared to me Tulowitzki was trying to pull the baseball.
Yeah, George, typically with 2 strikes, you just got to go into the I've got to protect myself mode. And that's the one when you forget about necessarily going to the right side. If you happen to pull it, you do. But the first 2 strikes of that at bat, we saw him try to go the right side. After that, it's all over.
Helton's hitting .377 against lefties. Todd 4 RBIs over the last couple of ball games. Hit a grand slam Thursday night, his first grand slam in almost 3 years. And that's down 1 ball and 1 strike on Helton. Todd with runners in scoring position, hitting .348. See his numbers on the road trip. 10 ribbies in a 10-game trip, that'll work. Outfield pretty straight up. Usually you see the center fielder over toward left with Todd. That misses, 2-1. Matt Kemp is maybe a step in that direction, Jeff, but it's pretty much a straight up alignment in the infield and outfield.
Well, it just shows me that they're going to work that fastball in and out, and if they do go away with anything, it's going to be something soft away.
Well, no ill effects for Stoltz, effects yet on Stoltz's thumb.
And this ball's in the air to right field. Playable for Jamie Hoffman. Fowler's going to tag up and move to third. That'll bring up Ryan Spilborghs with 2 outs. Here are the Dodgers defensively. Juan Pierre in left, Matt Kemp in center, Jamie Hoffman in right. Blake and Juan Castro getting the start for Rafael Furcal at short. Orlando Hudson, James Loney, Russell Martin behind the plate.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier about Stoltz and his thumb. He was coming out of the box and actually kind of fell and jammed the thumb. He hadn't pitched since May 15th.
Yeah, he was scheduled to go Wednesday, and they backed off.
I'll just be interested to see how it is an hour from now if he's still out there.
Well, you know, Jeff, one thing that he said, quoted in the Dodgers, in LA Times, was the fact that he said, it's not so much when I'm throwing in the game as far as gripping the baseball and the comfort side of that. It's after the game and the next days when it becomes extremely sore.
Or if he has to hit and gets jammed.
Well, they said he's going to probably take a lot of pitches, is what
Yep.
their quote in the paper was. He'll bunt in situations, but when it comes as far as swinging the bat and doing those, you know, and he's a decent hitter that you probably wouldn't see him do a lot of that.
Well, that's nice then.
Yeah.
You're automatic out then.
They dropped it down. Can't DH today.
Nope.
2-0 on Spilborghs. Now 3-0. Brad Hops on deck.
Well, it looked like he just tried to pitch around Spilly there.
Again, is it one of those guys that maybe he's not comfortable with? Spilborghs, though, just 1 for 5 against him. Hops, the guy who's done the damage with the long ball. He's hit a home run against him. 2 for 7 in his career.
And Brad comes in at 275 against lefties. He's hitting 408 at home this year. He's got a hit in 13 of 14 games. So Brad with the fresh legs after taking yesterday off. He hasn't had many off days. The Rockies have needed him out there each and every day. Very consistent offensively. And one of the best hitters in the game this year with runners in scoring position at 472. That is #1. Hit better than 500 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. Give you the whole umpire crew. Tim McClellan's the crew chief. He's behind home plate. He's been around forever and a day. Andy Fletcher at first. Scott Barry, an umpire we just saw recently, and Ted Barrett at third base. 2-0. All of a sudden, Stoltz can't find his zone, George.
Yeah, and I walked 16 guys coming in, struck out 25 in 37+ innings. And again, it may be the feel of the pitch as far as that thumb concerned. We talked about it, that maybe he's not comfortable being able to throw that breaking ball for a strike. He's missed twice badly.
(3-0). Garrett Atkins is on deck. Well, how do you play this one, Huey? You got a guy that swung the bat exceptionally well. You got a guy struggling to throw strikes.
I don't let him swing away because it's 7 straight balls.
Okay.
That's why.
He wasn't swinging. It wasn't a strike. It's now 8 straight balls. The bases are loaded. And here comes Garrett Atkins. Here comes Rick Honeycutt, not surprisingly.
Well, to go out and visit with him a little bit, maybe it's check on the thumb more than anything else. I mean, delivery-wise, doesn't look a whole lot different than it did when he was able to strike out Tulowitzki and got Helton on a pop fly.
If your windshield's damaged from the winter, please call Colorado's #1 team, Elite Safelite Auto Glass, 303-287-5000, or visit safelight.com. Maybe some of those enormous raindrops this morning cracked the windshield. Well, Garrett Atkins in his final at bat yesterday, Jeff, in Detroit, did something that we haven't seen in a while, and that was hit a ball with authority to right center field. He used to wear out that gap.
Well, what was really nice is after he struck out in his very first at bat, he had a fly ball to center field, then a line out to center field, and then the double, as you said. And I talked to Clint Hurdle today before the ball game. I said, how about those last 3 at bats? He goes, yeah, that was nice to see, especially that last one. You see Garrett Atkins take it to right center field, stay on the baseball.
Well, I mean, let's face it, 3 out of the last 4 years, he's knocked in over 100, then he had 99. The guy's always hitting his career. You just didn't think you were going to have to wait till May 25th for him to start doing it on a consistent basis.
That'd be nice here if he could throw out a base hit. The Rockies could jump on Eric Stoltz. That misses. 1-1. Good speed, scoring position. Fowler at third, Spilborgh's at second. Brad Hopp is at first. 2 gone, no score, bottom of 1. Here's the 23rd pitch of the inning. And it is in the air to center field. Matt Kemp's going to retreat, but he's going to settle under it. So the Rockies threaten, they load the bases, but they leave 3 on as we go to the second. In for the first time today with Mark Stout with our Mike Shaw Auto Update. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Drew. Happy Memorial Day to everyone. I am here with Specialist Kerpel. He's based in Denver. And you're a mountain biker, right?
Yes.
The only one sponsored by the U.S. Army. He was in some celebrations earlier today in Castle Rock. The first report I'm going to do today, and a lot of it's about baseball and wartime, is about Orlando Hudson. And a lot of people wondered, guys, if Orlando Hudson might want to sign with the Rockies. Well, I asked him why he signed with the Dodgers. He said, you know what, I had two teams I was going to sign with. Either the Mets, he grew up a Darryl Strawberry fan in South Carolina, or the Dodgers so that he could continue the legacy of Jackie Robinson. Hold that thought on this pitch as this is flied foul. Jackie Robinson is a veteran of the armed forces. He didn't see any really time in service, but he is a veteran, and it was neat to talk to Orlando Hudson about Jackie Robinson. He did a lot of book reports about that, and it's good to see Specialist Kerpel here today. He said a lot of people shook his hand, and he felt grateful about that. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. I'm really glad that a lot of people acknowledge that. It's awesome.
So happy Memorial Day from out here in left field. Let's go back to the booth, guys.
All right, Mark, thank you very much. And thank you to all of our men and women worldwide for their service, their continued service. And obviously we pause today, as we should every day, and reflect on so many men and women who have lost their life in service to our country. Memorial Day 2009. Matt Kemp is a strikeout victim for the 46th time this year. And with one guy, James Loney, will come up, who was strikeout number 2 for De La Rosa. Loney's just become a very solid hitter, George. Maybe not hitting the number of home runs that many people thought he would.
Well, I think some people thought he could hit 30. You know, and be pretty consistent with that. More of a line drive gap type hitter, probably a more 15 to 25 type home run guy, drive in 85 or 90.
Huey,
very good hitter.
Yeah, good hitter, and Huey pretty good hands at first.
Well, I mean, 0 errors on the year for Loney, but what I like is just the balance that he has, and he doesn't strike out that much for a big guy. He has a good eye at the plate, so you combine all those things together, and it just goes, I think, to what we have here in the National League is a ton of really good first basemen.
Now, to your point, how about this? 19 walks for Loney this year, 14 strikeouts. That's it. Here's the 2-1 and a line drive to left field, fielded on a hop by Stillboards. That's the first knock by the Dodgers. It comes with 1 out in the second. He said he's a line drive hitter, George. That was a terrific at bat. Let the ball get deep.
Well, it was on a left-hander. 94-mile-an-hour fastball too. As the ball rode back, his hand stayed back. Just positioned to where this is coming out of the glove of, or out of the hand of De La Rosa. You can see where this pitch is, down and away from him. So he didn't try to do a lot with it. He just stayed on the baseball and let it take it to the left side versus trying to pull the baseball. Smart hitters, I think, will tell you, the ball's away from it, do what the ball's allowing you to do instead of trying to do something with the ball you can't. Those are the guys that hit the ground balls to second short.
Now here's an interesting kid, Jamie Hoffman. This is his 7th big league at bat. Yesterday he got his first big league hit. It was a 3-run home run in the 10-7 loss to the Angels. He still hasn't hit a single in his big league career. He had a double yesterday also. He hails from Minnesota, never drafted in baseball.
No, but he was in another pretty good game.
Yeah, he was drafted in hockey.
8th round by Carolina.
Back in 2003 when he was playing in the U.S. Hockey League. Jeff, here's the big fly from yesterday.
Well, he goes down and he gets it on the breaking pitch. You can just tell the way he stands up there that he's just looking to really just turn and burn on the baseball. A little open on that front side. Hands up, and then he's just going back.
Loney's going, and he went first move. And he steals second on the combination of De La Rosa and Torey Alba.
Well, that's the one thing about De La Rosa. When he picks that leg up, good left-handers with good moves, Jeff, they can interrupt right about there and go to first base when he sees that move. And it was a quick leg kick, so maybe that's something they pick up off of him.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is Joe Torre's just guessing. He threw over there once in the high leg kick, and once that knee starts to go drift behind the rubber, that's when you know you can take off, and Loney just kept going.
Well, it may be the patterns, too, of advanced scouting.
Yes.
He'll throw once, and then he goes to the plate. Very rarely does he throw more than once.
I think there has to be something there, George, because Loney's not a base stealer.
Now, third stolen base for him out of 4 attempts this year.
And last year he stole 7 in 11 attempts. I mean, Loney's a situational guy. You don't know, he may have been on the back end of a couple double steals. So they obviously picked something up. 1-2 inside on Hoffman. It's 2-2. Hoffman was scheduled to continue his hockey career at CC, Colorado College, one of the national powers, member of the WCHA, along with George Gwozdecki's DU Pioneers. And so, I mean, he wasn't even thinking about baseball. He was thinking about hockey.
When you're drafted out of the USHL, I mean, you're a pretty good player. There's a couple different junior levels, and that's one of the top ones besides the ones you have up in the major junior A's up in Canada.
Well, we've seen a couple hockey players in the last week and a half.
Yeah.
We saw Niger Morgan, who was a very gifted hockey player. He's a left fielder for the Pirates. This ball on the ground, right side. Barnes pulls it to his chest and throws out Hoffman. Loney goes to third, 2 outs, and that'll bring up Juan Castro.
One thing I've seen from the ground balls so far, there has been a couple early in this game with Juan Pierre, and now that one, is the way the grass is really eating up and starting to slow down the baseball. If it hits the dirt, it's going to skip a little bit, but the grass, it's a little bit thicker, and with the heavy moisture in the air, even it settles into that grass a little bit, the ball is slowing down a lot.
Well, I tell you, Jeff, yesterday they had to come down and put the tarp on the field at 1 o'clock because of heavy rains and hail here at the ballpark. And then not to be able to mow it today prior to the ball game. Well, as much fertilizer and what they do water-wise on this field, this grass obviously is going to grow a lot. And today with the heavy rains and the tarp, they weren't allowed to cut this infield the way they normally cross-cut. So I think that's probably a little bit of slowing the baseball down.
Here's the 0-1 on Castro, 1-1. This is the 8th start this year for Juan. 7 have come at shortstop. Veteran utility player. 2 balls and a strike.
Well, these are the type of guys that get a lot of time in the big leagues. They assume their roles. They understand their roles. They don't try to do any more than that. And when you get this kind of offense out of a guy here, 346 with a home run and 4 RBIs and limited at bats, this is a pretty nice thing to get.
Well, it is, and then the solid defense too. And you can play him anywhere. You can play him at short. You can play him at second. You can do a whole lot of different things with him. And then, as you mentioned, George, so in the offense, that's just a bonus.
2-1, swung on and missed, kind of waved at that. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Very good changeup. Got a 4-pitch mix, George.
Yeah, he does. He's got them all working today, too. I mean, here's that good pitch down and away. See that late dive on the baseball. Got him out on the front side. When that ball comes in, see the rotation, the way it's rotating, it's going to create some drop in the baseball. But it's the lack of velocity on the pitch that creates that hitter to get out on the front foot and disrupt his timing.
2-2 and back to it. He struck out Castro. 3rd strikeout for De La Rosa, and he leaves James Loney at third base. No score, middle of 2. Memorial Day at Coors Field. And one of the great traditions in our state, it's become a nationally known race, the Boulder Builder, the 31st edition. You can catch all the highlights on June 7th right here on FSN Rocky Mountain. The elite race, the citizens race. I used to run that every year, George. I miss being able to do that.
Well, you got a summertime job. It's kind of tough for you to go do it now.
I got a summer gig.
I just want to see you hula hoop all the way.
You know, the last time I did hula hoop the whole way, my hips hurt for a week. Clint Barbish leading it off against Eric Stoltz. And Stoltz has had trouble finding the strike zone. He's 2-0 now on Barbish. He walked 2 in the first inning. The Rockies had a leadoff double by Fowler. He did get Garrett Atkins with the bases loaded. And it is now 3-0. 27 pitches, 17 out of the strike zone.
I just watch it too. I mean, he presets that circle change every time. A lot of guys will preset the forkball to do that. Some guys don't preset anything, but he's starting to back off the velocity. I mean, early in the game, he was 90 to 92 most of the time, 89, 92. And now all of a sudden it's down to 87, 88, 89, where I think he's a little more comfortable pitching.
That's your point. 87 on the fastball, 3-0, and 3-1 fastball, 88 at the knees. And we saw that a little bit from Dontrell Willis yesterday, who was pretty effective. He got the loss. Rockies won 3-1. But his fastball range, believe it or not, from 82 to 92.
Yeah, that's a huge range for a left-hander, too. But it may be something that he's just choking the ball back, trying to give you the same exact look, too, on that fastball to try to get you out on the front foot. Well, that's just what Drew was talking about a minute ago. 18 balls, just 13 strikes out of the 31 pitches thrown by Stoltz.
Well, the other thing I think of is the success that he's had at Dodger Stadium. That's, everybody knows that's a pitcher's ballpark. All of a sudden he gets out of there, gets out of his comfort zone, and that ERA jumps up. Road ERA over 6.
He's been in the rotation. He's done a good job because of the injury to Hiroki Kuroda. That's a strike on Yorvi Torrealba. Now Kuroda, according to Joe Torre, probably will be back in the next couple of weeks. There's Joe.
Well, Stoltz has taken advantage of that injury for Joe Torre. Kuroda went down in a lack of success by McDonald to keep the job here and stay in the big leagues.
The long man today, if the Rockies can run up the pitch count or knock Stoltz out early, would be Jeff Weaver. Back in the big leagues.
Well, Eric Milton, the guy starting tomorrow after just a long series of injuries, has fought his way back to the big leagues.
We'll talk about that tomorrow. He doesn't typically profile well at Coors Field. Fly ball pitcher. There's Weaver on the right. Two and one on Torrealba. And this is fouled off. Out of play. 2-2. Clint Hurd has been very succinct, very straightforward really throughout the spring and the first 7 weeks of this season. He said, you know, guys want opportunities. They got to perform when given opportunity. Opportunity here for Torrealba, and he hits it in the air to Kemp in center field.
Well, Jeff, and I don't know if you'd agree with this or not, but I mean, I know when I was playing as a player, the fear factor of failure and getting replaced wasn't fun. I mean, it really motivated you as a player, and I think that's something Clint's starting to do a little bit. We're not going to be satisfied with mediocre numbers. We're going to make switches when guys are performing well in AAA.
Oh, you're right, George. I mean, that was the manager always had the pin. He was the guy that put you in the lineup, and you didn't worry about where you were hitting, whether it was second, eighth, whatever, as long as you were in there. And you're right. I felt like if I didn't get a hit or if something didn't happen, then I was going to have to either go down to AAA again or do something else to try to stay at the big league level. And good for Clint to say that and go out there. And we've seen it on this road trip a couple times. Guys didn't do their job. And we saw Troy bench for one day because he swung at a pitch that he thought was up in the zone and in the wrong situation.
De La Rosa will try to get the bunt down again. And again, he bunts it foul.
Well, I think, a lot of times, sure, I hear you mention about letting the ball travel deep in. When you're bunting, you don't want it to travel deep. And there's twice right here that's traveled deep on De La Rosa.
Well, the backside's gone out just a little bit, and then he tried to bunt it. What you would like to do, ideally, is move up in the box. So when you go to do that, your bat is now in front of the plate, so you have more of an opportunity to bunt it into fair territory.
Barmes takes off, and a good bunt that time by De La Rosa. Bunt run. De La Rosa got it down. So Fowler will come up with a runner in scoring position and 2 outs. Dexter doubled to left center in his first at bat. You just saw Russell Martin go out and visit with Eric Stoltz. Hugh, you think that's one of those deals? Hey, listen, he sat on the first pitch fastball last time.
Yeah, definitely. And the flip side of that, I'm going up there thinking if I'm Dexter, that I'm going to go ahead and take this first pitch or look for a pitch maybe off speed in a particular area.
And he started him true to form with a breaking pitch.
And Dexter did the right thing. He went up there with a game plan. And that goes back to the point you made his first time up. And when he was out on the bases, the growth right now of Dexter and the maturity and recognizing patterns.
And this ball pulled to third. Blake throws to Loney, and Fowler retired. So the Rockies have left 3 in scoring position in the first 2 innings, 4 overall on base. The Rockies have lost 5 of 6 against LA this year. In their last meeting, though, they knocked off the Dodgers finally 10-4. Let's check in with Mark Stout. Mark?
All right, Drew, it's time for the XL Energy Fun Fact. I'm here with Norm Moyer, who's from the Springs, a retired Air Force man. He was in the Air Force in Vietnam and also over in Germany. Story about Hall of Famer Duke Snider of the Dodgers. Duke Snider went into the Army in 1944. That spring, he was at spring training with the Dodgers in Bear Mountain, New York, because teams didn't train where they normally did. He went in when he turned 18 that fall, and he was in for 19 months. And a good story about Duke Snider, he would bet everybody that he could throw a baseball the length of a submarine, which was 300 feet. And he would win the bet every single time. He was guaranteed $50, and the rest of it was split with his crew. But he would win that bet. He was over in Guam with Pee Wee Reese as well, who he said he didn't see when he was over there, but he knew that Pee Wee played a little baseball over in Guam during World War II. Guys?
That's a good story, Mark. Thank you. I bet you word spread pretty quickly not to bet Snyder that he can throw the ball the length of a submarine. I mean, how many guys were lined up for that?
Well, there's a lot of tricks they used to play in baseball. Do a lot of things with different guys. And one of those, you know, that old trick you throw the ball and I guarantee I'll catch it in my chest.
Right.
From 200 feet, and everybody, oh, I'm in. You can't do that. You can't throw it and hit him in the chest. And he just throws you a little pop fly, and you run under your, catch it in your chest, and go, okay, pay up.
Right.
So it's kind of like being on the submarine on one end of it. He goes, all right, now just let it, nobody touch it till it stops rolling.
Yeah, there are
Like a pool shark.
Yeah,
that's right.
Number of big leaguers who can do that. That's one of the reasons they're big leaguers. Brad Hopp, just saw he could definitely do it. Strikeout of Stoltz brings up Juan Pierre, and Juan takes a strike. Juan rolled one to short his first time up. Juan did something in his first at bat, Jeff Houston, you almost never see him do. That's a strike also. He swung and missed. He has done it fewer than any player in baseball since 2000.
Well, just the way he is. He's spread out. He's got a very short bat, 32, 33 inches, and that's part of his game. Bat control. Even lefties, he'll stay in there and foul them off to the left side. And as an infielder, too, with Pierre, you've got to shorten up a little bit. Even though he has 2 strikes on him, you still can't play your normal depth that you normally would. So even Clint Barmish, you see him, typically he's out at the edge of the grass. He's even moved in 2 steps.
You know, it's interesting, Frazier. I mean, his hands are so fast. Guy who throws hard, you know, mid-90s fastball, De La Rosa left on left. He's not in the extreme back of the box.
No, he's not. I mean, he got totally fooled on that pitch, and then just didn't have a very good typical Juan Pierre hack. At 84-mile-an-hour slider down and away. Those were the 2 pitches thrown early in this count. See a great move on that outside corner, just trying to slap it on the Hyundai cam. You can pick up the rotation of the baseball, the late tilt and break right over the top of Pierre's bat for a strikeout.
That's 5 punch outs for De La Rosa. 2 gone quickly in the third. Here's Russell Martin. He hit the ball on the ground to short his first time. Dodgers have the best record in the game at 30-15. That's on the corner for a strike, 1-1. George, what do you got?
Well, looking at the Frazier Focus today, I think the Dodgers games last about 3 hours and 22 minutes. A lot of that is because of the amount of pitches they take and what they see during a ball game. On the average, they're seeing 159 pitches per game. That's a huge number. You think about that, 18 pitches per inning, nearly 4 per at bat under Don Mattingly as a hitting coach. A guy that was very, very patient, former teammate of mine when he first came up. Donnie liked to work it to a lot of fastball counts.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
And it's nice to have the club that's able to do that. You can't do that with a very young club because guys aren't comfortable hitting with 1 or 2 strikes. They figure I got to go up there and fire right away. But they have enough veteran guys that hey, it doesn't matter to be 2-2 in a count.
He's got Martin with a changeup. De La Rosa strikes out the side in the third. Now the Rockies have to do something different when Jorge's out on the mound. Score him some runs. No scores. We go to the bottom of the third inning. Don Baylor and Yorvi Torrealba visiting. The guy that De La Rosa is catching, or excuse me, Torrealba's catching, Jorge De La Rosa. 6 strikeouts in 3 innings. But Georgia, the same old story with De La Rosa, no run support.
Yeah, look at that number. You can see when he's there, just shy of 3 per game. And then when everybody else is out on the hill, nearly over 5 for the rest of the starters in the Rockies rotation. The next 2 innings coming up for De La Rosa, which Huey, again, it's that second, third time through the lineup. He's given up 12 of his 25 runs on the season have come in the 4th and 5th inning.
Right, and that's the thing for him is he's got to make sure when he goes out there this time, the guys have already seen the breaking pitch, they've seen the changeup. Make sure you mix up that pattern of how you pitch guys, and then also you don't sit there and you go back to what's worked for you earlier in the ball game, because they're going to make the adjustments.
You know, and again, offensively, flipping back to that side as Tulowitzki fouls off the first pitch, 2-1. Stoltz, to me, is a guy that he's on the edge of disaster. I mean, he's having a tough time throwing strikes. The Rockies have let him off the hook in each of the first 2 innings.
Well, they have. I mean, you had the back-to-back walks, weren't able to do it, and then Clint Barmas leading off last inning with the walk and only getting to second base.
And a leadoff walk again. So in 3 innings, you had a leadoff double, a leadoff walk, a leadoff walk. And they're in the meat of the lineup. Todd Helton up there. See if Colorado can capitalize. This has been an area that has hurt them throughout the year. That is 4 walks, by the way, issued by Stoltz. Nobody out in the 3rd. And he's closing in on 50 pitches. Todd takes a strike. Helton hit a fly ball to right field his first time up. And that's also in there, 0-2.
That last pitch from Stoltz, who 1.59 seconds to the plate. When he comes over to first, a few times he has, that leg comes straight up. If not, the knee goes back behind the rubber. That one was straight up.
Yeah, just trying to get when he gets that load on the backside. And again, maybe they just don't think Tulowitzki's going to steal a lot of bases. He has 4 on the season. He's been caught 3 times. But a left-hander, it's such a huge advantage to have that as you look at numbers at Coors Field for Eric Stoltz. Straight up, straight down again.
Yeah.
You know, when they start to load to that back leg, a lot of times they get that hip turn, and then when you get the hip turn, obviously a read, because when that knee, any part of the body, the front side of that body that goes beyond the rubber, they must go to home plate.
Helton pokes it to 3rd. There's 1 and there's 2. Dodgers throw it around the horn. 5-4-3 on the double play, and with 2 outs, that'll bring up Ryan Spilborghs.
Well, one more look at him, and here's that breaking ball again. That was more of a swing, Jeff, for me. It wasn't so much to try to place the ball to the left side and in fair territory, but maybe foul territory and get another shot at a fastball.
You know, it kind of reminded me of the one Troy did earlier in the game, where he tried to foul it off to get another play at it. And Todd just put it into play.
Well, it's kind of like the arms just kind of drag through. All you're trying to do is see that lower half didn't move at all. It kind of one-handed to reach out and slap at the baseball. Just unfortunately stayed right at Casey Blake at third base. They were able to turn the double play ball.
Spilborghs walked his first time. Here's the 1-1 to Ryan.
Well, he's been on a tightrope. You were talking about Stoltz a minute ago. I mean, the ball strike ratio is about 50-50, actually a little higher, 27 balls, 25 strikes. But yet when he's needed to make a pitch, he's made the pitch. I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword. He's gone up above 100 pitches a few times in starts this year, twice to be exact. The most 123. That was in that complete game shutout of the San Francisco Giants all the way back on May 9th.
And it's on the ground to first. James Loney will run to the bag. The Rockies go quickly in the third inning despite a leadoff walk to Troy Tulowitzki. We'll go to the fourth, no score. And is brought to you by your Colorado Hyundai dealers, and this May's only Hyundai Can Save sales event. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. By Dex, take the sport out of finding local information with Dex and printing online at dexknows.com. And by Burt Toyota, where the Tacoma is less than $24,000. Not much offense so far, a lot of good pitching, especially from Jorge De La Rosa. He has struck out 6 in 3 innings. It'll be Orlando Hudson, Casey Blake, and Matt Kemp in the fourth. And a big overhand curveball for a strike on Orlando Hudson, who walked his first time up. 1 walk allowed by De La Rosa. The only hit at James Loney, line single to left in the second inning with 1 out.
I mentioned a minute ago when you and I were talking about run support, innings that jump up at you, and for De La Rosa, 25 runs given up in the 4th and 5th. Excuse me, 12 of his 25. So it's a little bit up to De La Rosa and Torrealba to recognize that and not stay in the same pattern. I think it's very important that you change patterns of your pitches and your locations your second and third time through a lineup.
And
Ouch.
nicked Torrealba.
Yes, I think he did a little bit more than a nick. Ouch. Right in the knee off the bat of Hudson.
Yeah, a lot of times, though, when you drop down on that one leg, you know, he drops to the knee to try to stay and get a lower target. You're going to get hit an awful lot like that, I think, you know, versus off the face of the shin guard. It's almost like he turned that in.
Remember when Tony Pena used to do that all the time? I was surprised he didn't get hit more on that exposed leg.
Now, he caught me as a 15-year-old kid in winter ball, Jeff, and he laid lower to the ground than a snake, man, when he was down on the ground trying to catch somebody. And you're like, dude, set up. There's nobody that short you can throw a strike to.
The amazing thing to me about, you're talking about Pena and Santiago was this way, and Pudge. They could throw from that position a second.
Arm strength.
Yeah, just tremendous arm strength. You know, those 3 guys you mentioned like that, Pudge is the one that gets the most recognition of his arm because it was so consistent, but also that offense, you know, the glorified part of it all, versus Santiago, who had a couple of good years in San Francisco.
That is now a 15-game hitting streak for Orlando Hudson. So Hudson aboard again. That's the first time the leadoff man has been on against De La Rosa. Casey Blake coming up, and we go downstairs to Mark Stout. Mark.
Thank you, Drew. I'm here with specialist Joseph Venida, who was in Iraq and back as of January. Thank you for your service.
My pleasure.
Here on Memorial Day, let's do the Aflac trivia question, which was, what future Hall of Famer was the second big leaguer to be drafted after the Selective Service Act went in 1940? The second big leaguer, not the first, but a future Hall of Famer, was the second one to be drafted in 1941. Think about that, and specialist Venida and I will watch the game, guys.
All right, Mark, thank you. 1 strike the count on Blake. He was a strikeout victim his first time up. De La Rosa will induce a fair share of ground balls. He racks up the strikeouts also, but Casey Blake would be a nice double play candidate, not a flyer.
Not a flyer at all. And he had 4 ground ball outs. Let's see if he can pick up another one here. Because of where he keeps the ball, when he's on top and driving down, he's got good downward plane to the plate. So that's going to create sink, the movement of the curveball and slider down in the zone.
Got to keep an eye on Hudson over at first base, though. He's gotten his batting gloves and everything ready to go. He's been measuring De La Rosa, but the short leg kick helps.
You know, I always look, Jeff, at Orlando as a good base runner, and not necessarily he's not really a base stealer.
Right. I mean, 4 stolen bases on the year, has not been caught, but you're right. There is a difference between a good base runner and then a base stealer. Base stealer's looking to go every single time he's out there. You know, base runner is good at first to third, second to home, that sort of thing, and will steal an occasional base if he can read something.
1-2, and it's inside 2-2. Of course, Hudson's a very smart player. To your point about picking the right count, the right pitch, discerning something from a move.
Look at the throw over from De La Rosa. Anytime you'll see a pitcher look at home as he's coming up, that's always an indication that he's going to throw to first base.
Two, ground ball foul.
Well, I tell you one thing he does very well too, and he's doing this, and I think it's messing up the timing an awful lot. He's thrown over a couple of times, but when he does go to home, it's set and go. I mean, there's not any hesitation. So therefore, it's going to make your base stealer get a little bit of a ticker, maybe 2 ticks slow getting off his move to second base.
You're right, because as you know, George, pitchers are creatures of habit. They like to get the ball, and they'll usually wait about a second before they go home. And if you can do that, get it, come pause, set, and then go home, it just kind of throws you off your rocker just a little bit.
Not a good read either, because Hudson, I tell you, I've watched him now 2 times in a row. As soon as the legs picked up, his first move's back to the bag. He's taken a pretty good stride this last time, straight back towards the bag, which obviously it's going to help you even flip that double play more.
You know, this is one of those situations. You guys were talking about the 4th and 5th inning. De La Rosa has been terrific so far. He gives up a bouncing ball up the middle, base hit. He was ahead 1-2. Now it's 3-2 on Blake.
Well, and you're facing their best hitters in the lineup.
There
now
goes
too.
Hudson. It's fouled off.
You know, you're in the 3, 4, 5 role of what you're dealing with now too, or 4, 5, and 6. So now you got your power guys up. A lot of times you'll catch those guys as free swingers. Blake hasn't hit in the 4 hole an awful lot. He's hitting down most of the year in the 8 hole. They'll work the counts, and I think too, Jeff, veteran guys, they have a more defined strike zone personally, and they take a lot more pitches.
They do. If I was De La Rosa or Jim Tracy, I'd call for a throw over right here. I'm not going to let him just take off twice in a row.
And a base hit down the right field line. Hop's going to cut it off. Blake will stay at first, but Hudson will go first to third. That's a good at bat for Casey Blake. And here we go. The Dodgers with runners on the corners and nobody out.
Well, just what we talked about, the pitch count per at bat. It's almost a half a pitch more, folks, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is, per at bat by the Dodger ball club. 151 pitches seen in a game. And then he just worked this back to a fastball count. You mentioned he had a 1-2 count. Now all of a sudden he works it back to a 3-2 count.
Well, and then the other thing, what is an easier pitch to go to right field than the one that's up and away from a right-handed hitter? I mean, that was just out in his zone and with the second baseman covering. That's just an easy swing path to hit that ball to the right side.
Now, Blake's in a great place offensively. 7 for his last 10 at the plate. Deep in the hole to Lewicki. He's not going to get anybody. It's going to be an infield hit for Kemp, and it's 1-0 LA. And for Matt Kemp, that is his first RBI in 10 ball games.
That's pretty amazing too, for the talent that he showed early and even last year in this season. That doesn't have the ability or has not been able to drive in some runs. Tulowitzki playing straight up with a runner at first, trying to shorten that distance up. Got a ball up in the strike zone again, Jeff. It appeared to be up and a little bit in, and allowed Looney to turn on it.
Yeah, and when you go over into the hole, you realize the only play I have is to try to get something on it back over to second base.
I liked it too. That with Kemp running, it's going to be difficult. Tulowitzki's really not going to have a shot at Kemp at first. He went to second, but the one thing I noticed on this was the recognition by Barmas to get off of the bag and go get it. You see a lot of guys try to stretch and go, I can become, Banana Man here all of a sudden, and I can go from 6 foot to 7 foot, and the ball gets by him, versus recognize, hey, the pitch is off. Now the throw's off. I got to go get it and block it and don't prevent any more damage.
Yeah, almost like a first baseman.
And that leads me to, George, the topic that is always relevant when De La Rosa's out there. Any pitcher at this ballpark, any pitcher at any hitter's paradise, minimize the damage. Joe Torre was talking about that. He said typically at Coors Field you don't play for 1 run, but it's always minimize the damage. All right, you gave up a run. There's 2 men on. See how you can get out of it now and keep your club close instead of turning 1 into 4.
Absolutely. I mean, figure it out, whether it's the changeup you're consistently throwing for strikes in the first 3 innings, whether it's a slider, whatever it may be, get out of this inning or try to minimize it and get a double play or get an out right now. He's thrown 64 pitches too, and you're in the 4th, so that pitch count, just what we talked about with the Dodgers, here it goes. Averaging 150. Well, that seems like an awful high number, 151 per game.
But you also knew in their hitters meeting, when they go over the opposing pitchers, they all talk about what he throws, how he throws it. But the theme when they were leaving that meeting, I'm sure, was, hey, if we stay close, we've got a chance. There's always, as you mentioned, George, 1 inning that might get him. If we can put a couple hits together, have a chance to knock him out.
Now it's 3-0 now on James Loney.
Well, do things to disrupt. Whether it's a bunt, steal a base, get that 1 base hit. See if he starts to try too hard. And sometimes, I spent 10 days watching minor league games in Asheville. Sometimes guys try too hard. Try to throw the ball too hard, try to hit it too hard. And that's when the mistakes start to come and you lose that command of what you've accomplished.
And try to be too perfect.
They have that mindset, as George has been describing, and they're really going to have it with a guy like De La Rosa, who's been an inconsistent strike thrower. This is a base hit the other way. Around third is Blake. He'll hold there. And the ball's cut off by Atkins. The bases are loaded for Jamie Hoffman, the rookie. Yeah, I'd rather see that, Jeff Houston. Listen, you tip your hat. He threw a 3-1 strike, and Loney went the opposite way with it. It's far better than watching him walk.
It is, and the old saying, you can't defense a walk, and you'll go ahead and lay it in there. Who knows? He just hit it in the hole. It's one of those things that he could easily hit it at somebody. He got the double play. But it's nice when he's able to throw that strike, because there's nothing more demoralizing to the pitcher, to the fielders, to your whole team as the merry-go-round of walks.
And you know what? You're in the right part of the lineup. Hoffman's had 7 big league at-bats, 2 hits. Juan Castro in the 8-hole, and then the pitcher. This is in the air to right center field. It's going to get another run home. Hop makes the catch. Kemp's going to move second to third as Blake scores 2-0, and then his career RBI number 4 for Jamie Hoffman. Check at 5. He had a 4 RBI day yesterday. This big league game's pretty easy. I've played 3 ball games and I have 5 RBIs.
Yeah, this is a piece of cake. By the way, the Rockies made a move before the ball game. Matt Bilal designated Josh Fogg. Pitched well at the AAA level, 3-1 overall record. Had pitched well recently. Has been recalled and put to the bullpen here with the Rockies.
There's Josh Fogg. Juan Castro at the plate. 2 runs in for the Dodgers, and a squeeze was on.
Ouch.
That looked more like safety squeeze, didn't it, Jeff?
Yeah,
I mean, he didn't really
was.
take off, did he, at second? I mean, at third base, it didn't. He wanted to make sure the ball was down.
Right, and you'll do that with a guy like Castro that can handle the bat. He kind of started to take off right as soon as that front foot came down, but he still wasn't far enough away where if something happened, he couldn't get back.
Right, this ball's down very, very low. Castro tried it. Let me ask something else, too. With the pitcher up next, trying to think of the facts of let's try to be the ultimate surprise here, maybe, and try the safety squeeze, or,
yeah,
you know, even though Castro's hitting for a high average, he's typically not a guy that drives in a lot of runs.
Right, go ahead and get that 3-0 lead, because you already talked about Stoltz and his inability to swing the bat because of the thumb. So I want to make sure that I get at least one more run out of this at first and third, and I want to take the worst case possible scenario away of him hitting into the double play, that being Castro.
I'll tell you what else you have to watch out for. Loney stole a base on him in the second inning.
Good point, because you're a little frustrated if you're De La Rosa right now, you know, concentrating on just trying to get out.
And this ball toward and past diving Clint Barmas, another run in. In all likelihood, the run would have scored anyhow. It would have been tough to turn 2 on that particular ball. So it's a single and an RBI for Castro, and the Dodgers have methodically turned this into a 3-run inning here in the 4th.
Well, you put it great, too. I mean, just basic little hit here, hit there, and all of a sudden some fundamental baseball. And you turn this up to a 3-run, 5-hit inning for him all of a sudden. I mean, 4-hit inning. You can see Clint Barmas going out. He realizes on that slide, Jeff, doesn't he? There's no way he's going to be able to catch that baseball, stop, turn, and throw, and have a chance at a double play.
Nope.
Thank you.
Now, throughout Major League Baseball today at 5 o'clock Eastern, we have a moment of remembrance on this Memorial Day, and that's why you had the stoppage in play in the middle of the inning. And Garrett Atkins going over to try to calm down De La Rosa. 5 hits in the inning, 1 in the infield, and nothing hit exceptionally hard. I mean, Hudson started the inning, George, with a 18 hopper up the middle. Even that ball right there by Juan Castro, I mean, he hit it fairly sharply, but it just got underneath a diving Clint Barmas.
Well, Loney was an infield single, you know, the opposite deal. And the only ball I thought that was hit hard was Casey Blake's line drive to right field, but it was just, you know, it was a line drive to right field single.
The Rockies just had the wheel play on there. And George, you know, you're being taught as a pitcher, when you have the wheel play on, you're only going to get one shot at it, meaning that the shortstop's going over to third base, you have to throw a strike.
No, you have to. There's no question. I mean, this is what you work on.
Because now you can't do it again. You can't do it back to back. You can go to the pitch, or the pickoff at second base, but you got to play it straight up now, where Tulo has to just stay in his back pocket.
And it's 2-0. And this has been the case with De La Rosa, not to pile on Jorge, because he can look just exceptional. Frazier, as he did in the first 3 innings, he punches out 6, but now again some seeing eye hits, the line drive by Blake, can't minimize the damage. Now you look up at the pitch count, he's in the mid-70s.
The mid-70s, you're right. And again, I mean, facts don't lie. That's the fourth and fifth innings, 12 of his 25 runs have popped up.
And he's
that's also the second and third time through a lineup.
Right, and he's 3-0 on a pitcher who can't even hold the bat properly.
Right, and Peralta's up very quickly down in the Rockies bullpen. Clint realizing, I know it's only late May, but this is a big series, folks. You're already in a position of 11 back, and you've got the National League West leaders here in this ballpark.
He just walked Stoltz, and now the bases are loaded. You flip the lineup over, and you got Juan Pierre, who I know he has struck out in this ball game, but he rarely does that. He's a very difficult man to double up. You want to understand why fully the Dodgers are 30-15 by 3 games, the best record in baseball, and they've been playing very well without Manny Ramirez. They're doing the little things. And the little things in this particular inning have led to 3 runs, maybe more. And that's another pitch out of the zone.
Somebody go talk to him. I'm not talking about Clint. I'd wish somebody from the infield would go give him a chance to catch his breath.
That's a strike, 1-1. I also believe, and am I right in this, George and Jeff? you know, at some point, I mean, De La Rosa's not a 22-year-old kid. He's been around. He's been with 5 organizations. He's gotten better with the Rockies. They've done good things with him. He's got to pull his own bootstraps up at some point.
Well, absolutely you do. And you got to be able to work through it. I mean, you have a pitcher up with 1 out, and you can't find the strike zone. And that's you have to do it. And it's and let me say this, folks. When you're on the mound, it's just like a hitter. You're not trying to strike out, and they're not trying to throw balls. And sometimes you try too hard, and you try to overthrow the baseball, and it comes back and just bites you.
James Loney singled. He's at third. Juan Castro singled in a run. He's at second. And Eric Stoltz walked on 4 pitches. He was trying to bunt. Second walk allowed. And this ball lined toward the gap in left center field. And now it's really going to get ugly. Stoltz around third. He's going to get a green light. He's going to score easily. Here goes Pierre. It's a 3-run triple. Talk about letting an inning get away. Now you got an ugly, crooked number on the board. It's 6-0 LA.
Yeah, you really do. And it's going to force Clint out of the dugout to go get him. You just hoped he had worked out of that. You know, I saw Juan Pierre do this in his very first game after replacing Manny Ramirez. The way the defense is set up, we're going to hold it right up here for you. Now you can see, can't see, but Spielberg's over here in the corner. Here's Dexter. So what does this do? Look at this big opening, folks, out in left center field. And you've got to shorten it up because you just don't anticipate Pierre driving a ball this far out into the gap. But he has done it more than once now. This ball all the way to the wall, 390, and then it's just off to the races, man. I mean, it's so hard from that point when you have speed on the bases and him running. There's going to be a number slapped up on the board in a hurry. Well, that 4th inning again, Drew. Got a hold of De La Rosa.
6 runs in, just 1 out. Six to nothing Los Angeles. Still just 1 out in the 4th inning. This call to the pen is brought to you by Comcast Digital Home Phone Service. Warm up to unlimited local and long distance. Call 1-800-COMCAST. Joel Peralta will take over for Jorge De La Rosa. Juan Pierre's at third. Russell Martin is the 9th man to hit in the inning. The Rockies bring the infield in. Martin 0 for 2 to this point. This is the 2nd appearance for Peralta. He has the ability to get a strikeout.
Well,
Pretty good fastball,
yeah,
George.
Yeah, good fastball. He'll run it up 90, 92 miles an hour with some late movement to it. He's got a fork ball and a slider. He's another one of those guys. He's been around a while. And, you know, knows how to pitch a little bit. Got to have things go his way.
There's this breaking ball for a strike. 1-1. Just amazing to me, George. De La Rosa, 3 innings of complete dominance.
Total dominance where nobody was going to hit him.
6 strikeouts. There was a walk. There was 1 base hit. Other than that, I mean, he was carving up the Dodgers, and he gets 1 more out. This ball's popped up. It could be playable down the right field line, and maybe not. I mean, that's something, and we've talked about it, you know, ad nauseum, and obviously the Rockies work with De La Rosa all the time. And in his defense, Jorge has gotten much better in controlling his emotions and minimizing damage in previous starts. But today he gets one more out, and it's not like they peppered him to death.
No, they didn't pepper. I mean, it's just one of those old deals that they're trying to work through, make the one pitch, a foot from being a line drive double play. And not making any excuses for him. He just got to be able to work his way through some stuff and get out of those innings. When you rear back and go from 90-91 and you jump it to 95, put it where you want to. I mean, be able to pitch your way through an inning to get out of those innings.
The only out in the inning, the sac fly off the bat at Jamie Hoffman. Single, 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 single. Sac fly, single, walk, triple. 6 runs. Here's the 1-2. And Martin lines it to left. Here comes Spilborghs. He gets it on a short hop. Here's the throw to the plate anyhow. And Pierre able to score. It's 7-0. Russell Martin with the 7th hit in the inning for the Los Angeles Dodgers. They have hit around. What a job Juan Pierre's done for the Dodgers in the absence of Ramirez.
Oh, he really has. It's going to close the book. See that pitch, though, about belt high versus out of the zone. Martin just took advantage of it. A little humpback liner out there. Looked like Spilborghs might get it in the air. That's why Pierre had to go back to the bag. Then the throw off line. Pierre scores. Martin picks up RBI number 19.
And now Orlando Hudson from the left side. Got a base hit to start the inning. He now has a 15-game hitting streak. This is early in the ball game, the 7-run lead. Russell Martin is a guy that has stolen quite a few bases already in his big league career. One of the few catchers in the game that is a stolen base threat.
Yeah, it's 5 on the year for him. Been thrown out 3 times, but he not afraid to take off.
He likes to go.
Yeah.
He likes playing the complete game, and he doesn't want any days off. Remember last year, guys, he played third base when he wasn't behind the plate. That was his day off.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? This is one thing. I look back at Paul Lo Duca was much like that when he first came to the big leagues, and you see everything diminish late. I mean, I would think Torrey might be a little more careful of that, and he's got a great backup in Osmus as far as catch and throw guy, mixing a hit occasionally. Well, I know you want that in the lineup, but I think what do you think's the comfortable number, Jeff, for a catcher in games caught?
I think it's somewhere right around the 140 mark. I mean, if you start to go over that, and even 140 might be a lot. I remember when Pudge did that a few times. He was able, but that was a little bit younger time. But when you have a guy like Brad Osmus, a veteran guy, he's been in the league forever, to go out there and you don't feel like you're going to lose anything, at least anything behind the plate with a guy like Osmus.
Yeah. There goes Martin, and here's the throw to second high. Martin has a 6th stolen base. The double play is no longer in order, and Martin's in scoring position.
Well,
this is the half inning that won't end. This has been an ugly trend for the Rockies. They get these innings of late. As you see the high throw, they get in these innings of late. They just can't get out of them.
Well, that's some of the hardest things about it. I mean, I think sometimes, again, it goes along with that deal, study long, study wrong, and all those things, Jeff, that once it starts rolling, man, it could get ugly in a heartbeat.
Well, especially when you're going against a team like the Dodgers, who are, as you said, 30-15. They just have that confidence right now.
I mean, think about the last week, guys. The Rockies had a 4-1 lead in Pittsburgh a little more than a week ago on a Sunday. It's 8 days ago. And they gave up 10 runs in the 7th inning. A couple days later in Atlanta, they gave up 9 in an inning. And there's just 1 out in what was a 0-0 ball game here in the 4th. And the Dodgers have scored 7.
Yeah, I've seen that, give up 10 runs in an inning or 9. I've seen that happen maybe once a year, not 3 times in the last 10 days or so.
It's not, yeah. I mean, how about last 8 days? 2 balls, 2 strikes on Orlando Hudson. 1 for 1 and a walk in the game. Martin bouncing around. Tulowitzki with the behind the back tag.
We saw him do that earlier this year where he had tagged one between his legs.
See what he's doing with the knee, though. I don't know if you can see it on the monitor down there, Jeff. Look where he's putting the knee. He's trying to put it right in front of the bag to prevent the runner from coming into the bag.
Yeah.
In other words, he's blocking everything, and when he block first, tag second. Is
right.
basically what it looked like.
Well, especially with the guy that you know is going to go back there hands first, so you block it, so you try to keep those hands and from going back into the bag. Now, if I'm Russell Martin, I saw what just happened. If they try to pick off again, I'm going to go back spikes first.
It kind of changes the shortstop's approach, doesn't it?
It really does. But that's how I've got to combat what he's trying to do.
You know, and you know who, Huey, you knew who wore spikes and who did, because Orlando Hudson typically is a guy that wears the soft spikes.
Right, but the catchers, they always wear the regular ones behind home plate because they're in the dirt. And that is a thing that's really changed in the game to me, is guys wearing these molded plastic spikes all the time. We used to see them, guys only did that during batting practice. Now guys will wear it, even infielders, which I'm shocked of. When you're talking about being in the dirt all the time, it clumps up a little bit, that you don't wear the metal spikes to really dig into the ground.
Well, the other thing, too, is on balls in the hole. You know what I mean? And you got to go over and really plant with that right foot, or the push-off foot. And a lot of times you see their feet go right out from under them.
See, he's got
fielding a baseball.
See, George, he's got the molded ones on. I remember having a conversation a couple years ago with Orlando about that, and he felt like, he got just as good grip on, on dirt as with the metal spikes. And Huey, it gets a lot easier on the feet.
Well, yeah, but you're only wearing spikes for 3 hours.
Hey,
so.
Jeff, I think you know what it is. We just never had any shoe contracts. We had to go buy our shoes, and we weren't going to buy a whole bunch. So we just wore our metal cleats.
Good point, George. Good point.
We didn't get 25 pairs of shoes a year.
Right, and maybe the metal ones and the plastic ones that are molded now are different than the ones we used to wear.
Yeah. No, I'm sure, the Riddell snug ties, I go back all the way to those. Never mind, Huey.
Yeah, well, I remember the spot-built ones.
There you go.
Yeah.
I used to love the Wilson leather shoe. Kangaroo leather. Mm-hmm. Man, they were unbelievable. I used to steal those out of the big leaguers' lockers. Say, can I have try those out?
There goes Martin to third, and it's fouled off.
Well, that's just not paying attention to your runner with a left-handed bat up.
Right.
And one out and a 3-2 count taken off. You're just not holding the runner at all. I know your defense, you got to set it up, but 7 runs this innings ties the season high. It's third time. The last time the Dodgers did it was against the Nationals in the 6th inning of a game on May 6th.
Another one of those half-hour plus half innings.
How about this? 11th
looks on.
11th pitch through for Hudson.
Most guys' averages rise when they get in these situations because, Jeff, you see the entire repertoire and you go, okay, you know what? There's nothing coming out of his hand that I'm not picking up pretty early on.
Right. It's all about pitch recognition as a hitter. And when you're able to see that many, you've seen that window that the ball comes out of. So you're able to pick it up right away, whether it's going to be the fastball, the curveball, the slider, whatever it is. You're seeing it. And then the more pitches you see, the more confidence and the more relaxed you are. So you stay back longer.
Well, plus, doesn't it help, Jeff, that a guy, if he's not a blazer, and what I mean by that is somebody that, is going to trick you, there's some off speed down and away from him. But, the guy with the blazer, you can't relax a lot. I mean, he's going to fire it at 95, 97 coming out of a bullpen. You got to be ready to fire, but you get a guy like this, it makes it a little easier. I mean, he threw the split finger here for the strikeout at 78 miles an hour. Got away with that, kind of up in the zone, but had some late moves.
No, you're right. The guy that's throwing that hard, you can only look for that once. You start to cheat just a little bit to get out on that front side.
Casey Blake takes a ball. Blake is single and a run scored in this 4th inning. 2 outs, Martin at second base. The line on Jorge De La Rosa, 3 1/3, 7 runs, 7 hits, walked 2, struck out 6. And this ball to center field, well struck. Fowler going back, still going back. And Dexter at the wall runs into it and makes the catch. Nicely done to finally end the inning. 11 men come to bat, 7 score for the Dodgers in the 4th.
Welcome back to Coors Field. 7-0 Dodgers here as the Rockies hit in the bottom of the fourth. Athletic trivia question about a half an hour ago was, name the second big leaguer who was a Hall of Famer to be drafted for World War II. And the answer is Hank Greenberg of the Detroit Tigers, and that was in May of 1941. In 1940, he was the American League MVP. He made $55 grand that year, and then he had to turn that in for his $21 a month Army salary as he went into World War II. The first drafted big leaguer was a guy by the name of Hugh Mulcahy, who pitched for Philadelphia, and he went in March of 1941. This is after the Selective Service went in late 1940. That was signed in by President Roosevelt. I'd like to thank Specialist Venida for hanging out and watching some Rockies and celebrating Memorial Day. Thank you for your service.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We had to wait a long time for that answer, but we go up to the booth again to Drew and George, guys.
Well, we were just visiting about Hank Greenberg in Detroit over the weekend. This ball driven to deep left center field by Brad Hopp, and it is off the very top of the wall. So Brad with a leadoff double against Stoltz here in the fourth.
Well, one of the hardest things to do for a starting pitcher is when you have that 15 to 20 minute wait in an inning sitting in a dugout and then come back out and your team just staked you. You ought to come out and pound the strike zone, but a matter of still getting loose for the inning. And once again, Brad Hopp going to the opposite field and utilizing the power that he has. He took this thing very deep in left center.
Well, that's one thing I think his swing has taught him, that, you know what, I don't need to try to pull every single ball to hit it out. I have the strength to go the other way. That one didn't get out, but you just see the strength to take it to 390 opposite field.
And Garrett Atkins takes a strike. Had to wait for Tim McClellan.
Yep.
Thought it was a strike.
Well, he'll let you know in the box.
Sounded like a strike.
Well, he'll say something before, and then 5 seconds later he'll put up his right arm.
This ball is in the air to shallow left field. Juan Pierre comes on. Well, Josh Fogg, just up from Colorado Springs, is getting loose. Got a nice reception naturally in the clubhouse this morning. One of the most popular members of that 07 World Series team. Clint Barmas with one out. Clint walked in the second inning. If you're just joining us, you see the ugly number up on the board. The Dodgers scored 7 in the fourth after De La Rosa was almost unhittable in the first 3 innings. 6 strikeouts, gave up a walk and a hit. That's it. Juan Pierre had the big hit last inning, a 3-run triple against his former club. Not very friendly. The Rockies have had chances in this game. Stoltz is the one. You know, this is why the game is so strange sometimes. Jeff, you're sitting down there. You're at field level. Eric Stoltz is living on the edge of a mountaintop the first 3 innings. Rockies are having opportunity after opportunity. He's walking guys. He's behind in every count. De La Rosa looks like Sandy Koufax, and now it's 7-0 LA.
Right, and that's the crazy thing about this game is, and I put a little bit back onto the offense, as you mentioned, Drew, because they had chances early in this game. Stoltz, you didn't know about his thumb, so they go out there and they don't put anything onto the board. So then it gives them some confidence in the other dugout, and Stoltz stays around long enough that they get 7 runs for him. And Jorge, we've already talked about the way he did not get any run support or hasn't gotten much run support. So all of a sudden he figures, I got to go out there and be kind of perfect. So I mean, both things are at fault here. De La Rosa for not putting his foot down, but also the offense for not scoring some runs early enough.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, at the end of that thing, hop off on the booth. First time we had one that close in a while. The other thing I was going to say, that exactly what you're talking about, putting your foot down, regardless of how many runs you get up, you're getting in support, you're still going to try to throw up zeros.
Right.
And you just can't continue to let an inning flood out that way. Hey, by the way, the Coca-Cola value packs, they're the best deal still in the ballpark. They include 4 tickets, 4 hot dogs, 4 Cokes, and a parking, all for only $49. They're available for all the May games, so don't miss out. Coca-Cola value pack, 1-800-388-ROCK, or just jump on the computer and go to ColoradoRockies.com.
Two and two on Barmas, trying to drive in Brad Hopp.
Well, a lot of good teams too, Jeff. Whenever you see a team score 7 runs like the Dodgers did in the 4th, sometimes they get a little deeper into that game, man. They continue to put their hammer on you, and the Dodgers have done that. In the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings, they've scored over 30 runs per inning in those innings this year. That's telling you they really put the leather to you, because everything else, I mean, the big innings at first, they've had 44 there. That 6th, 7th, and 8th, they get a chance to stick it to you. They do it.
Well, that's that killer mentality that we talk about in sports. When the other team's down, got to keep them there.
This is pulled down the line, and it is off the wall fair. Hopp scores. Barmes to second. Back-to-back doubles. Brad Hopp and Cliff Barmes actually sandwiched between the out by Garrett Atkins. So the Rockies are on the board at 7-1. RBI number 17 for Clint Barmes.
And I got a fastball on the inner half after fastball away that he was able to foul off, keep this bat alive, and the ball was up. And again, Clint's so quick on that inner half, Huey. I mean, you're not going to get it by him in there, particularly if you're 85 to 90 miles an hour. On the Hyundai cam, you can see this ball come out. Now, this is a changeup. Maybe had a little bit too much velocity on it.
Yeah, but it was down and in to Clint. That is his sweet spot, much like a left-hander likes the ball down and in. Clint likes that one there, and he doesn't miss it too often. But I also like the aggressiveness of Brad Hopp. Once again, yeah, you're down 7-0. Things have not been working out. He was off and running on the pitch. There's Brad taking off, and what that does is it creates, you can see where Casey Blake was at third base. It creates a bigger hole. If that ball happened to be on the ground, have more opportunity to get into left field.
Torrealba takes ball 1 on a curveball. Torrealba hit the ball in the air to center field his first time up. Matt Merton in the on-deck circle for Peralta. It's the first time all year that Yorvita started back-to-back ball games. Got a better job against lefties in limited duty. Joe Torre is a great guy, wonderful man. But when you've been in this business a long time, you can't become sentimental about trying to get a guy a victory. And he is really struggling, and though he has a large lead, if he continues to struggle, they'll go to their pen before 5 innings.
Well, he has to, because it's about the other 24 guys.
Yeah.
Well, it's about the fact, too, that you got a 7.5 game lead in your division. I'd like to push it to 8. I mean, or 9. 8.5 out in front, too. I mean, you got a good ball club. You're going to manage it to win every single ball game. You're not going to let a team get back into it, particularly a team, I think, Jeff, that's hits the ball extremely well at home, like the Rockies do. I mean, they average 6.4 runs at home, 4 out on the road. That to let them even start to smell getting back into this thing.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to give that an opportunity. And was it just a couple of years ago when Torrey was with the Yankees and he came in here and got swept? So,
well, Jim Tracy always used to tell Drew and I when he managed Pittsburgh and even the Dodgers, he said, you know what, I got a 7-run lead in the 9th, my closer's pitching. I'm not going to give it any chance to, this guy needs an inning or 2 of work out of the bullpen. We're not doing it because it's just too hard to win games in this park.
Yep. Rockies sitting on 699 home wins all time. That goes back to the Mile High days. Fogg looks like he's ready. There goes Barmes, and it's outside, throw to third on the bag, and Barmes is cut down.
Wow, Russell Martin made up a lot on that because I thought Clint got a pretty good jump.
Well, I'm going to ask you, I mean, you are down 7-1, and the advantage here, you still got some guys that can drive into runs because Merton's going to hit. What do you think of this move, Jeff?
In this instance, you got to make sure that you're safe. I mean, you are down by 5. I liked it earlier, and now all of a sudden you run yourself out of the inning.
Strikeout of Torrealba, and that is the inning. Rockies get a run on the double by Barmes, bringing in Hop. To by E470 and Express Toll, the best way to save time and money. Dodgers in for 2 more ball games, and the Padres are in over the weekend. Houston will be the next destination for the Rockies. They'll go out for 11 more games. 10-game road trip just ended yesterday in Detroit. And after this week at home, Houston for 4, St. Louis for 4, and 3 in Milwaukee. Rockies have made a change, and makes me wonder if everything's all right with Todd Helton, because he has come out of the ball game. It's a little early, and Stewart's in and Atkins across the diamond. It's a little early where you say, okay, the ball game's out of reach. I'm going to give my older veterans the rest of the ball game off. Maybe the back got a little tight. And I'll tell you one of the things, and Todd's told me this, when he has to stand out there in the field, Jeff, you knew this when you were playing defense in a long inning, and even if you had complete health, when you stand out there for 30+ minutes, as the Rockies had to do last inning, his back gets tight.
Yeah, the lower back, that's what really gets you, because all that weight and all that just standing there with your footwork, and even if you move around a little bit, it starts to tighten up. I saw Ian Stewart start to get loose that last half inning. I thought it was going to be possibly for a double switch. If they did bring in Josh Fogg, I thought maybe Garrett Atkins would come out or Clint Barmes in the double switch. I was a little shocked when I saw Garrett going to first and Ian over to third, and I'm right with you, Drew. That was my first initial reaction, was I hope nothing wrong with Todd.
James Loney 2 for 2 in the ball game. Both hits to the left side. And a strike, 1-1. One ball and 2 strikes. Loney with 32 RBIs leading the Dodgers. They have 5 players with 25+ RBIs. For years, when the Dodgers won, it was generally all about pitching. Whatever they threw out there offensively was a bonus. Well, they've pitched fine this year, but they have a very productive offense. Those 5 guys with 25+ RBIs: Andre Ethier, James Loney, Casey Blake, Orlando Hudson, and Matt Kemp. No Manny Ramirez. And Manny, obviously, had he not been suspended for 50 games, it would be 6 guys with 25+ RBIs. And this is another base hit to the left side for James Loney. Good hitters appreciate his 3 plate appearances today. I'll tell you that much.
No, there's no question they do. Taking it to the other way with what he does to the left side of the infield.
I mean, even on the split finger from Peralta coming through, most of the time you'll see guys, when they see that out of the hand, not much rotation on the baseball, they're going to try to pull it, but that ball is working away from him. He stays on, his head's right there when he goes to swing.
Jamie Hoffman at the plate. He had a sac fly his last time up, the rookie. In his first handful of ball games in the big leagues, already with 5 RBIs. 3-run home run and a double yesterday, drove in 4 in the Dodgers' loss to the Angels. And this ball is hit to right field. Brad Hopp underneath. 2 outs. Manny, by the way, when he was suspended, 20 RBIs.
Well, it's not just one guy having to carry the load. You get production. If somebody does not get a base hit to drive in a run, you feel like as a team, when you're rolling like the Dodgers are, that, oh, well, the next guy will pick me up. And then that's why you roll. That's why you're 15 games above 500.
Well, you don't worry about your personal accomplishment.
Right.
I mean, you're just worried about W's, man. I mean, you don't care if how many hits you get or how many runs you drove in today. They're going to take care of themselves. And I think when you and I both have been on good teams and bad teams. And when you're on one of those bad ones, man, that ain't any fun.
No,
I mean, you just wondered. You don't go to the park every day thinking about kicking somebody's butt. You're worrying about how bad it's going to get that day.
Right, or maybe just how am I going to do today? And isn't it funny how when you don't worry about personal accomplishments, how the team, it's all about the team. You guys go out and win, and then when you win, the numbers are good.
No, and there's no question. I mean, it's because you got a smile on your face every day. You're not walking down the street with with a hat and sunglasses on, waiting to get booed by the guy at the diner. I mean, you're feeling pretty good about going and getting the paper in the morning.
All those disguises you had, George, what have you done with them?
They're at home. I still got them.
1-1 on Juan Castro.
Somebody said, my mother asked me one time, why'd you grow a beard in Chicago in '85? I said, did you look how bad I pitched this year? Grew a beard, shaved my head, did all kinds of things. You know, if you pitched that way and say Cleveland, nobody would have known who you were, in the 80s. Chicago, man, a little rougher around that place.
More guys in the dugout than in the stands.
Yeah, I was talking to you just a minute ago about being on bad ball clubs. That's kind of what with Cleveland. You just kind of felt like before the season started, you're wondering how many you'd be out by May 1st.
Mm-hmm.
It was just one of those type of team situations. A lot of good individual players, they just didn't win.
The other thing too is when you go there was always about just 5,000 people in the stands. You're like,
678 in a doubleheader with Milwaukee. Blyleven and I counted it.
Oh, did you?
This is toward the gap in right center field off the bat of Juan Castro. Dexter Fowler gets there. Going first to third is Loney. 10 hits for the Dodgers, 3 for the Rockies. 7-1, LA leading. Eric Stoltz up with 2 outs.
But that's just how clubs are going. You got Juan Castro in the lineup today. Rafael Furcal is typically your everyday, but Castro's hitting well over 350 now. And we saw it in Detroit with the teams that were winning there. They had Adam Everett, they had Ramon Santiago that were driving in runs in the 8th and 9th spot.
Ball 1 on Stoltz. Stoltz walked on 4 pitches last inning against De La Rosa. That loaded the bases, and then Juan Pierre knocked De La Rosa out of the game with a triple to left center field, scoring 3. Stoltz has not swung a bat the last 9 days. George alluded to the thumb injury earlier. He was supposed to start Wednesday. That start was pushed back. And it bothers him when he swings the bat, so no BP for him.
He struck out in the 3rd when De La Rosa punched out the side, but it was more of a one-handed swing. At the top hand, his left hand came off the bat pretty easy. Hey, let me remind people, you come to the ballpark, doesn't have to have a game going on. You come over and take a tour of the yard and see everything. I mean, you get in behind the scenes of the game, in the dugout, in the locker rooms, and different things like that. There is groups, and if you don't want to come with a group, come by yourself, you can do that too. 303 Rockies for a tour of Coors Field.
That's fouled off. 2-2. Now Stoltz is a good hitter, and again, this is something that George mentioned earlier in the ball game, and this is a part of the game that he really enjoys. There's some pitchers, George, you pitched with, I'm sure, a bunch of guys that hated it, and then there were other guys that like Jason Marquis, Aaron Cook. I mean, they're good athletes. They loved it.
Well, they're just good hitters.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Rick Russo loved to hit. Those guys, I mean, Rick Sutcliffe, all the home runs he hit.
Stoltz likes it. Doesn't like that his thumb hurts. Here's the 2-2. That's pretty good.
See, one-hand swing, though. See, everything gets started, and then, boy, that top hand just flies off of it.
Subconsciously, he's saying, you know what? When I make contact here, it's going to hurt when I make contact, so I got to get that top hand off. But
yeah, I mean, it just kind of helps it get started, and everything leaves. It doesn't
nice
stick
finish,
around.
Though.
Nice hack, though.
I'll tell you what, he finishes the arc, doesn't he, Jeff?
Yeah, and I just noticed that finish. That was a very long and fluid swing through the zone.
It didn't look like a pitcher's hack.
No.
That one did, and fortunately he's gone with 2 men aboard. So Peralta strikes out Stoltz. Middle of 5, 7-1 at LA. Speed with the AT&T Rapid Rewind. And AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. Matt Merton in the 5th inning is going to pinch hit for Peralta. 9-1-2. Fowler and Tulowitzki to follow. Last time we saw Matt, he had an RBI double. 1 for 4 in yesterday's game. And Stoltz misses inside 1-1. Rockies finally got a run last inning against Stoltz. They've had base runners in every inning. The leadoff man has been on in every inning against Stoltz. Brad Hoppe, a leadoff double off the very top of the fence in left center field. After an Atkins fly ball to left, Clint Barmes lined a double down the left field line off the wall. 1-2. Josh Fogg will be into the ball game next inning. 2-2. And George, how about this? The fact that Dodgers have the best record in baseball, 3 games better than The Texas Rangers. Who would have figured that?
Yeah, I don't think you would have. I mean, Texas Rangers score runs in big bunches. I mean, and they're as far as scoring what they're doing. But I think the biggest change that's happened there is two things, Drew. I think one, Nolan Ryan got involved with the pitching again, and he said, you know what, we don't throw enough. You know, and I'm tired. There's no more pitch counts in the minor leagues. We're not going to mess with that at all. And you're going to go out and go. And I mean, Yankees got after him today, 11-1. But overall. And then Mike Maddox, the addition of him as the pitching coach, they paid a lot of money to bring him over there. And he and Nolan had become friends when he was working for the Houston organization at Round Rock. Nolan owns the Round Rock minor league team. And he saw the job he did there. Then, of course, he went to Milwaukee. And Nolan wanted him there in Texas. And he paid for him to come there. And he and Nolan have worked very good together. But I think Nolan just said, you know what? We're going back to the old style. You're going to play long toss. You're going to get out of the weight room. You're going to do your work. But you're going to throw the baseball. And I think that's a direct result of their success of that combination of Ryan Maddox. Two pretty good names in the pitching world.
Yeah,
helping out.
You know, Mike Maddox has been overshadowing the game by his 350-plus win brother, Greg. But Mike Maddox has always been one of the highest regarded pitching coaches in the game. And you mentioned how Ryan paid for him. He's now one of the highest paid pitching coaches.
Well, he had Dave Duncan with St. Louis, another guy that gets paid an awful lot of money, and his record kind of speaks for itself.
Dexter walks. That'll bring up Tulowitzki. Again, Dexter's been on base a couple times, Huey.
Well, he just continued what he did on that last road trip.
Yes.
And it's seen a lot of pitches, too. That's the other thing. And he walked a lot now and laying off pitches. And really, it's just fun to see.
You know, it's got to be frustrating for Clint Hurdle, Don Baylor. 5 walks here with 1 out in the 5th inning by Stoltz. The Rockies have 3 hits, but most importantly, they're just 1 run.
Yeah.
And I mean, Stoltz has given them ample opportunity.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you would have come into the ball game and asked those 2 guys, okay, Stoltz is going to walk 5 guys, and here we're just heading into the bottom of the 5th inning. What do you think your chances are going to be? Well, I think our chances are going to be real good that we're going to score at least 4 or 5 runs off that. But the only run they scored was off the 2 doubles.
Tulowitzki, a strikeout and a walk.
I think the other thing that the reason Stoltz, and his numbers aren't great at Coors Field, but he has pitched decent here, is because he pitched for the Las Vegas 51s in AAA, where it's high altitude, the ball flies. I mean, that's a horrible place for pitchers to pitch and get judged at. And then Albuquerque's the other place prior to that. They're back in Albuquerque now, but Jeff, you've been at both of those spots as an instructor, and I mean, Las Vegas is not a great place to pitch.
No, but it's a great place to hit.
Well, yeah.
We were there, Cashman Field, man. The ball was flying out of there.
Jumps.
George threw a hot dog wrapper up and went out at the 375 mark.
Yeah, the hot dog was in it.
And the hot dog was in it. I'm going to give you an idea how it was blowing, huh? Windshield damaged in any way, don't wait. Call Colorado's #1 team, Elite Safelite Auto Glass, 303-287-5000, or visit safelight.com. The Super Dog would have gone out that weekend in Vegas. Not often you get 2 Super Dog references in one ball game. 2-1 as that pitch is in there. In that Yankee win today, A-Rod stayed hot. He's got 5 more hits.
Probably cheering him again.
Well, Weaver started to throw down in the Dodger bullpen. Pretty slow. You know, guys that are starters, for whatever reason, you stick them down in the bullpen, it's like it takes them forever. They're like, okay, I got 25 minutes that I normally had when I was a starting pitcher.
As soon as Honeycutt went out to the mound, I saw Joe Torre go over to the phone, and that's when he got Weaver going.
2-2 inside 3-2. Just got word from the Rockies clubhouse on Todd Helton, and I take this as good news. I hope Todd feels better, but Todd left the ball game. It was not related to his back. he was having migraine symptoms. And you don't wish a migraine on anybody, obviously. And hopefully they'll get the headache taken care of, and Todd will be ready to go tomorrow. Ball 4. So Tulowitzki now the 6th walk issued by Stoltz. 1 out in the 5th inning. And yeah, Joe Torre's going to have to make a decision perhaps here, even with the 6-run lead.
Well, 91 pitches.
Do I get the kid to give him a chance to get a victory, or do I have to go and say, you know what? I tried, but man, you're walking too many guys.
Well, you know, the point you're making right there, that may have been what Honeycutt said. You like to get through the 5th, or do you want to see somebody else get this thing? Let's get busy.
Ian Stewart in the ballgame for Todd Helton. If he doesn't get him, I think they're going to go to the pen.
I'd agree with you, Drew. I think this is his last hitter.
Well, I would agree with you too. But you know what, Jeff? I'm watching Weaver warm up down there, and it's almost like 15 seconds in between pitches. So if he's not ready to come in,
right?
You know, they're not going to be able to bring him into the game. Now he may be. I just saw him signify slider there. He wanted to throw a couple of breaking balls, so maybe he's getting close to being ready.
He can't throw a strike right now. Stoltz is 2-0 on Stewart.
Well, he started to get, you know, we were watching the ball strike ratio going on, and he was kind of getting to the other side, a lot more strikes than balls. Well, now it's, you know, it's back almost 50-50 on the board. 46 balls, 47 strikes.
George, I'm with you. You're an expert on pitching. Doesn't look like Weaver's really huffing and puffing right now.
Hey, you know, that's one thing down there. We all kind of looked at ourselves as rescuers. You know, you got a man down. You got to go, man. Let's go. Get going.
3-0.
Get it loose and get it going in a hurry. And right now, you know what, Jeff? I'd be flying to get ready. I got a 6-run lead. I could pick up a cheap W here.
That's right. Joe Torre just went to the phone, though. He just got on the phone, or excuse me, Rick Honeycutt, to see if he's ready. Yep, he is. He's shaking his head. He's indeed ready. And
you got to take one here.
Yep.
That missed too. Ball 4. He just walked him loaded. And here comes Joe. That'll be all. I mean, Stoltz got the first man in the inning, the pinch hitter Merton. Then he walked Fowler, Tulowitzki, and Stewart. 7 walks. And yeah, you wonder if the thumb was affecting his ability to grip the baseball. So with a 7-1 lead, Stoltz just looking around saying, I'm not going to be able to have an opportunity to win this baseball game. And maybe it's the Rockies' opportunity to get back in this thing when we come back to Coors Field. Strikes out 2, but he walked 7. So he gives way to Jeff Weaver. Rockies have the bases loaded with 1 out. And if ever they've needed somebody to come through here, now is the time.
Well, it really is. I mean, this is a time to come up with a big base hit. Try to really put some damage on him. And again, this is kind of one of those deals that if Weaver's right, and again, that's a question mark of whether he's right or not, but if he's right pitching-wise, to have a guy like this in the middle of the rotation or middle of your bullpen to come in and eat up some innings, and he was obviously very, very good at a younger age. And now all of a sudden back and getting another opportunity after going to AAA in Albuquerque, and here he is.
Ryan Spilborgh's batting cleanup this afternoon. A walk and a ground ball to first will face Jeff Weaver with the bases jammed. And in his career, Weaver has given up 6 slams and a .335 batting average. Outfield straight up and deep for Spilborghs. And that's in there for a strike.
Especially for a right-hander, he poses a unique arm angle, the little high leg kick throwing out and around him, out and around his body.
I think whoever he and his brother went to as pitching coaches growing up, they duplicated.
Yes.
I mean, they both throw from that same angle all the time, way across the body.
That's a fair ball with a lot of English on it, and the Rockies will get a run. Loney had only one play, and that was to go to the bag. That was hit off the very end of the bat.
Yeah, and a lot of times that ball will spin out versus spinning in. It's kind of a strange ball, Jeff, off the end of the bat. Didn't stay in there at all. Slider went more on the hands. Let's look at it again here on the Hyundai Cam. Really tell you where the ball made contact. Yeah, right cue ball.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, look at that thing, and then it just takes off spinning. Actually, would that ball hit into foul territory and spin back almost 3 feet into fair territory?
I couldn't tell on that, but it goes back to the grass that we talked about earlier in the ball game, where the grass is acting a lot like Velcro today.
Do you pitch to Brad Hopp here, guys?
Well, that's what Rick Honeycutt's coming out to say.
You got first base open. You got a situation where you go right on right against a guy who's struggling in Garrett Atkins.
Well, one swing of the bat, it's 7-5. I mean, that's kind of where you got to look at it from that standpoint. I think, and to go at Atkins, you're crossfiring across the body. You got the hard slider. Nothing against Garrett. It's just common sense to me would say don't pitch to him. But
I agree.
That doesn't mean he's not going to. Trying to look up what maybe the numbers are with Weaver. Atkins 3 for 13 with a home run against him. Hop is 308 with 2 home runs. I mean, it really, the numbers tell you what you should do. Jeff, it doesn't look like that's what they're going to do.
Well, either that or they're going to pitch around him. But I look at a guy with 34 RBI leading the team. I don't want him or Todd Helton to beat me. I'll take my chances with anybody else. And it could be a situation, too. You pitch around to him, you get 2-0, and then you go ahead and put him on.
Yeah, but you know what? How many times you seen a guy you go out and tell pitch around him and he just flushes one in the middle and the guy hits it a mile?
You know what? To your point, George, if you're Greg Maddux, that's the guy you go talk to. That's fine. You go do that. When you're a guy that's this ball's up in the zone, it's fouled off. But I'll tell you what, just what you said. That's a pitch he wanted back out of his hand.
Sure it is.
Hey, pitch around him. You know, try to see if he'll get himself out.
Here's the deal. I'm not going to pitch around him. I tell you, I'm going to pitch around him. I'm either going to drill him and he can go to first, or I'll throw 4 wide and he can go to first. You pick the choice, Skipper. I mean, why?
And to me, it puts that negative thought in the pitcher's head. George, you would know better than I. But you sit there and go, okay, don't throw him a good pitch. Well, what's your first? What's going to happen? I might throw him a good pitch.
Here's the 1-1. Way inside. And George, that's where also, and correct me if I'm wrong, the manager, the pitching coach have to make the decision. Because if you go out and ask a pitcher, the macho side is, I can get him.
Yeah, it is. I mean, until you get to some veteran guy that might go, you know what, let's go ahead and walk this guy more comfortable against Atkins. You know, but that's a veteran guy talking. Younger guys think he can get anybody out. You know, no, I'm pitching to him. You know, you make that's why you're the manager. You make that decision for him and don't let him get in that spot.
Let's hope the Rockies can burn him. Outside 3-1. Let's see if he stands up right now.
Russell even looks in the dugout. See if Joe does anything.
I'm looking at Joe right now, and he's not signaling anything. You see Russell Martin. I'm going to let him go ahead and pitch here.
Well, he indicated change, breaking ball change. So, you know, just not going to give in.
And he did. This is Rick to the gap in right center field. 2 runs are going to score. Brad Hopp's going to go to second with a double. And it is 7-4. The Rockies back in the ballgame. You're right, George. He went soft, and Brad was sitting on something soft.
Yeah, he was. I mean, you know, okay, let's think. If I'm going to get to that point of 3-0 with nothing but soft stuff, he threw one fastball. So why on a 3-1 count with runners in scoring position would I throw him a fastball to hit? So, I mean, it's kind of easy for Brad to get rid of it. I mean, it wasn't that bad a pitch. It's down around the ankles on the knees, but Brad's a very good low ball hitter. Just drove it into right field. Joe Torre, maybe he's sitting around thinking, well, okay, what should we do? And kind of shaking the shoulders here, going out. Torre, right in and go ahead and walk the guy. So they second guess too every now and then.
Oh, yeah. You know what, Drew, it comes back to the point we were making in yesterday's game against the Tigers when Leland didn't walk Todd Helton.
Yeah.
And today they didn't walk Brad Hopp to pitch to Garrett.
Yeah, that's a called strike also on Garrett Atkins. 0-2. See if Garrett can shorten up here. Find a way at the very least to get it in play. Brad Hopp with 2 outs at second base.
Not only does he not get the win, and Eric Stoltz, he also got painted up a little bit for 2 more earned runs. He gets slapped with 4.
Yeah.
And you put the Rockies' momentum back on their side, only down by 3 runs now.
Boy, throw another hit out there right now. That would be enormous. Way outside. So Weaver got ahead, and then he dropped down on one. Went to a slider again. And now Atkins has worked himself back into the count. 2 more RBIs for Brad Hopp, leading the club with 36. What an extraordinary season he has had so far. Atkins up the middle, base hit. This will score Hopp easily. Garrett Atkins coming through. And it's a 7-5 ball game. How good that must feel for number 27. That's a good at bat, Jeff.
It was. I mean, he fall behind 0-2. But what led me to believe he had a good opportunity to hit this ball is the way he took the previous pitch. Really stared it down. That ball sinks back inside. And Garrett, boy, that is as good a swing as we've seen from Garrett in a while. Just to be able to stay on that and hit it past Castro. But another 2-out RBI to close the gap even more.
Well, what it really kind of, really makes me like that swing more than anything, Jeff, is he saw 4 sliders prior to that. Never got a fastball. Then he got the fastball and he adjusted and he really hit it hard.
1-0 on Clint Barmes. Now Barmes just got to hit one in the seats in left field. We'll start over again. Popped up right side, foul ground. Loney's going to have a play. But the Rockies score 4 in the 5th, and it's a ball game once again at Coors Field on Memorial Day. 7-5 as we go to the 6th.
Stand up right here. Where do you want to go? Mid-first, mid-third.
Rockies have scored 5 in the last 2 innings after trailing 7-0 in the middle of the 4th. It's now 7-5. Matt Merton, who pinch hit last inning, remains in the ball game and double switch. Spilborghs will come out, and Josh Fogg will slide into that spot where Spilborghs was hitting in the cleanup spot. This call to the pen brought to you by Comcast Digital Home Phone Service. Warm up to unlimited local and long distance. Call 800 Comcast. So Josh Fogg in his return to the Rockies in a very key situation. Top of the 6th inning. It's now just a 2-run ball game. And he'll face the top of the order, Juan Pierre, Russell Martin, and Orlando Hudson.
One of the big adjustments, and this is something Josh made after he went down to AAA too, is the finish on his pitches. When it used to finish on the hip side, everything stays up and flat, finish out over that front knee, and really get some good movement on the baseball. I mean, yeah, he's a veteran guy that has thrown strikes through his career. And Drew, we've talked about this many times with this ball club. This is as important a role now, right now, as at any point in a game, because you are in a situation where it is a chance for your club to jump back in. So holding a lead is as much as holding a deficit, where you are to let that offense get back involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Fogg gets to it, gets rid of it quickly. Good throw. Nice play by Atkins. Jeff, you played some first base.
Yeah.
That's not a fun play right there.
It's not, because you feel like that runner's bearing down on you. We've seen guys break their arms or wrists dislocated. But the bunt and the way Josh is able to get off the mound, that was what made this have the barehanded throw, goes back towards the runner. And you know, a speedy guy like Juan Pierre, it's going to be a bang-bang play. But Garrett stuck his hand in there and got a very important out of this inning. You just scored 4 runs. Get back into the dugout as fast as you can.
And there's that cut fastball that Fogg loves to use, and he gets it over for a strike to Russell Martin. Martin single and RBI in the 4th, also a stolen base. There's the cutter again, and that just missed. 1 ball and 1 strike. Everything moving away from the right-handed batter. And it's 1-2. When Fogg had it going a couple years ago with the Rockies, his favorite pitch when he got ahead in the count, 0-2-1-2, to a right-handed hitter was that hip side cutter.
Now, it particularly worked well with guys that crowd the plate. Guys that don't crowd the plate, it's not quite as effective, because, you know, they're away from it so they can react to it. But when you get a guy crowding up on the plate, you get them to lock the knees or stand up. And that little hesitation is when you get that last cut and the move on it. You see, watch this pitch as it approaches the plate. You can see that's a hard sinker that's working its way back down in on a hitter. And for a hitter to hit that effectively, you really got to get your hands inside the baseball.
1-2 again on Russell Martin, and it is fisted foul. Unfortunately, it didn't stay in the air long enough for Ian Stewart to get to it.
A reminder, Wells Fargo's customers enjoy Colorado Rockies baseball in style with a special Wells Fargo offer. 2-for-1 club level seats. Visit wellsfargo.com/Rockies for all the details.
Ground ball up the middle to Lewitzki. That's a great transition. Great transition from the glove to the hand, wasn't it, Huey?
And he had to change directions too, because originally he was going to have to come in and try to make it off to the side just a little bit, but it cued off the mound and hopped differently. So he comes in, makes the off-balance throw in the stretch from Atkins. But this is where he had to change directions, and then looks it all the way in, and in one swift motion is able to get it to his throwing hand and then get Russell Martin.
I liked right there is where that bare hand was.
Yeah, on top.
Out in front of the glove and top to make sure if that thing popped out, he was going to come right back up to him again. You see it on the Hyundai cam where that ball just came up into him, and then that quick, very flip throw, very quick flip underneath.
Line drive to first. Orlando Hudson lines out to Garrett Atkins. Fogg does his job. He gets the Rockies right back to the bat rack quickly.
Let's get you the decks this date in history. I'm out here in center field because it was on this date in 1951 the 20-year-old Willie Mays made his debut for Leo DeRocher's New York Giants. He hit third, played center, of course, went 0 for 5 in that first game, but their press release said that he was the most heralded rookie in a generation because in Minneapolis he had 477 with 8 homers and 8 steals and 31 RBIs. He went 0 for his first 12 and then hit a home run at the Polo Grounds off of Warren Spahn, a World War II veteran of the Battle of the Bulge. And Willie Mays, as we do on Memorial Day here, he is also a veteran of the Korean War. After he won the Rookie of the Year in 1951, he played 34 games in 52, missed all of 53. Basically played baseball in Virginia when he was in the service, but he was in there for the Korean War, but he made his debut on this day. Drew, George, guys?
Mark, thank you. This is a ground ball through the right side. No, Loney got to it, and he gets it to Weaver. That's the great glove of James Loney. He takes a hit from Yorvik Torrealba. 1 out. A little bit more on Willie Mays. You think back to the 660 home runs he hit. He played his games initially at the Polo Grounds. Then he lost basically 2 years to his service to the country. And then, George, he ended up in San Francisco playing a Candlestick where you needed a cannon to hit it out. How many home runs would Willie Mays have hit?
Well, you know, he did a little arithmetic on that today in a pregame show. He'd missed 266 ball games. And you figure 4 at bats. When he divided it all out, it was like he would have hit 66 more based on how many he hit every per at bat. And so, you know, still 726 home runs he would have hit. Obviously could have been a little more, a little less, depending on who's pitching. Like he used to say, I'll take my 0 for 8 on the number 1s and number 2s, the Drysdales and Koufax, but 3, 4, and 5 better duck.
and they had to. 1 ball and 1 strike on Matt Merton. Second at bat for Merton. He pinch hit last inning, hit a fly ball to center field. Double switch. Spilboard came out. Merton and left.
That's kind of ironic, isn't it, Jeff? You got a couple of veteran guys like Josh Bogg, who struggled in Cincinnati, went back to AAA, and you know, worked his way back here. He deserves a lot of credit for that. And he got Weaver on the other side.
Yeah,
kind of went through the same exact thing after having a great year with the Cardinals, getting to the World Series. Then on the free agent market, went to Seattle, struggled, and then here he is back in the big leagues again.
Yeah, you see that every once in a while. Guys do that, but they have the heart to go down and play AAA.
This ball's hit better than Matt Kemp realizes. He misjudged it, and it is going to be a double for Merton.
Yeah, he locked up on that ball, Drew. He just thought that was a soft fly ball to center. That was a bad read by Kemp.
That ball was smoked.
Well, it's hit very hard by a strong guy. I mean, it's down and away from him. Weaver looking up. I mean, on the Hyundai cam, here's that slider working off to the side of it. When you do that, it straightens out a lot at Coors Field. You don't see a lot of big bend to it. You really got to finish with it. And watch Kemp. He just kind of stops, float stops, and it's like, you know what? I ain't catching this one. That thing's getting up off the warning track in the wall.
Well, that's the thing with Matt Merton that surprises a lot of people. Just, yeah, you read the reports, but just how strong this guy is. We saw it yesterday. Cleet Thomas misjudged the fly ball in right field that Matt hit over there. And then Kemp just he just stood there for a few seconds before he started to go after it.
0-1 on Dexter Fowler. Dexter a double, ground ball to third, and a walk and a run scored last inning. Rockies with a hit could get within 1. Merton runs well at second base. Look out, that gets through Russell Martin. Now he's a fly ball from scoring.
That looked like cut all glove, didn't it, Drew? I mean, it's kind of like a backhand on a slider. I mean, instead of, you know, looking at it, Joe Torre, a former catcher, and looking on at it, I mean, he's going to punt him over. It looked like it went right between the legs.
Went
did that hit Dexter?
5-hole.
It did not hit Dex.
Hit Dexter, but I mean, it went right between his legs, and Russell Martin's like, what the heck?
That's almost impossible for a catcher, because now he loses sight of the baseball, so he's reaching to where he thinks it's going to be. Infield's back, so Dex, as long as he gets it in play in the middle of the diamond, the Rockies will be within a run. Loney is back on the pull side.
Jeff, let me ask you something, too. The way they're playing this thing defensively is Joe Torre's thought process is, you know, their bullpen struggle. Yeah, I'll give up this one. I just want to give up a big inning.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, you have the 2-run lead. You have that extra run cushion. As you say, go ahead. Yeah, I'll take my chances. Go ahead and see if we can get this guy out. Because if something happens, he bloops one in. They've got a run in. A guy that can steal a base. Now he steals a base. He's back in the scoring position.
Ball 4. And just to your point, you can put a lot of pressure right now on Weaver and Martin and maybe get that tying run in scoring position with Dexter Fowler at first, Tulowitzki at the plate.
Well, and a guy in Weaver, to me, that has takes a long time to get rid of the baseball. He doesn't like to slide step too often. He's more of a high leg kick kind of guy.
Well, to me, this is his last hitter, guys, because you have Omen getting loose. Honeycutt, as much as he's conversing about the situation, he's buying time for Omen. You have Stewart on deck, and then the Rockies only have left-handed pinch hitters on the bench other than Paul Phillips, who's your backup catcher, and you're not going to go to him.
No, and then you got Hop a couple doors down from there. Or right after, yeah, you're right. Right after the pinch hitter, that would be Hop. So 3 lefties in a row.
The Rockies have Smith, Quintanilla, and Phillips left. And typically, you'd like to keep Smith back for the late innings. You may not be afforded that luxury here. We'll see how this plays out. Tulowitzki runners at first and third. Rockies trailing 7-5 in the 6th. Tulo 0 for 1, a pair of walks. Stoltz in 4 1/3. The starting pitcher for the Dodgers walked 7. Two and 0. George, we've seen a lot of baseball games together through the years. When you start getting up in that 7-8 free pass range, you ought not to win the game.
Absolutely. I would agree with you. I mean, even at the 5 walk at the big league level, I mean, this is something you're just not used to. Now, all of a sudden, you're staring at an awful lot of guys on base. 8 walks in a big league ball game. That's crazy.
Fowler's going to move up. Martin's going to throw it through. And that gets away for a moment. Merton smartly stays where he is. I mean, you have everything going your way. You don't want to run yourself into an out. A wild pitch by Weaver. He's behind 3-0 on Tulowitzki. And all of a sudden, he has Stoltz disease.
How about the base running from Dexter to read that ball out of the hand and see it down? And this ball didn't go very far away. I mean, it just dropped right there. But that's the difference of being able to go from first to second on that ball than, say, second and third because of the shorter throw. Dexter, the hop, 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 shuffle, and he's gone. Now, I'm really surprised Russell Martin even tried to throw that. Fortunately, that didn't go too far, and Juan Castro was backing up.
3-0 on Tulowitzki. And Weaver guides one over the plate. And it's 3-1. These are the situations you dream about as a hitter. All the pressures on Weaver. Stewart's on deck.
Don't get over anxious.
Swung on and missed. It's 3-2.
Yeah, hard sinker down and in versus that slider down and away.
You get too big there.
Yeah, you got too big on it. Exactly right, Drew. Tried to create too much of a lift to hit the ball too hard. Short, compact swing.
And this ball to center field. It'll get a run home. Fowler's going to tag as well. Merton comes home. It's 7-6. So Tulowitzki drives in a run. For Tulo, his 15th RBI. Rockies were down 7-0. They have scored 6 unanswered against the Dodgers. Joe Torre comes out. He'll go and get Will Omen to face Ian Stewart. We'll step aside. 2 outs in the 6th inning. The Rockies within a run of the Dodgers. Coors Light Freeze Cam. On this Memorial Day, as we do every Memorial Day, we honor those who have served and those who have lost their lives in battle through the years. Our armed service men and women, and many in attendance today at Coors Field. We say thank you. Frost brewed Coors Light Freeze Cam. So Ian Stewart will come up. Weaver left to his own emotions there in the dugout. He goes an inning and a third. The Rockies have the time run at third in Dexter Fowler. Now, Will Oman out of Ponderosa High School down in Parker in his career has allowed lefties to hit just 202, but this year they've hit 280 against him.
With 4 long balls. That's kind of surprising. The right-handers have hit 211 with no long balls. Has been successful only 55% of the time with first pitch to first batter's face.
Stewart this year has hit much better against lefties than he has against righties. And last year he hit 370 against lefties. That was the best mark in baseball, left on left. Outside, 2-0. Hey, Russell Martin, I just read body language, Jeff. You're much closer than we are up here. I mean, it's almost as if he said, come on now, let's throw a strike.
And not only him, I'm looking at Casey Blake, I'm looking at Castro, Loney, all those guys. They're all their shoulders are hunched over. They're like, come on, this inning's never going to end.
3-0. Seth Smith's on deck. Again, the pitcher spot is behind Stewart. This was originally Helton's spot in the lineup. Todd left with migraine symptoms 2 innings ago. Stewart came on. Spielborg's left in a double switch. Jason Grilli getting loose. And that's not even close. That is the 9th walk allowed by the Dodgers today. Stewart goes to first, and Seth Smith will pinch hit for Josh Fod. And you know what? Smith, like most of the Rockies lefties, they hang in very well against left-handed pitching.
No, they do. They really do. I mean, they've done a nice job of working on that, not being tricked by the hard sliders, not trying to chase things out of the strike zone. Plus, he's really adapted to this pinch hitting role. Left-handers on the season, Smith hadn't got very many opportunities to do damage against him.
Smitty's reached in 8 of his 16 pinch hitting appearances this year to underscore George's point. 2 outs, first and third, 7-6 LA. And that's, well, I was going to say that's 5 straight out of the strike zone, but Tim McClellan got me.
Yep.
He does that to me several times a game when he's behind the dish. McClellan's a terrific umpire. He's just very deliberate when he indicates a strike. He lets the batter and the catcher and the pitcher know verbally, but of course we can't hear that up here.
And you can forget he was at the home plate umpire in the play-in game.
Yep.
See, I thought he was also the umpire, and he was in the Pine Tar game.
He was.
I know, sir.
0-2.
Well, the Rockies, I mean, they have the highest batting average in the National League, 3rd in all of baseball, with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. I mean, they're hitting 309 as a team. Shooting, the Braves are higher, pardon me, at 332.
Well, Smith will have to battle from behind, 0-2. Dexter Fowler walked. He's at third base. Ian Stewart walked, and he's at first. Smitty, did he hold up? Yes, he did. We'll check it out at third with Ted Barrett. Joe Torre's looking down at Ted Barrett, saying, no way.
Yeah, Bob Schaefer, too, his dugout coach, is barking pretty heavy. I don't know, Huey, what do you think?
Now from down here, it looked like he went.
Yeah, think so, maybe. I mean, see if it gets out here on this area. And if it does, I mean, that's what they're looking at.
Two and two. Jeff, when you were at the plate, you were in a ditch 0-2. It didn't always feel like a whole new life when you somehow worked it back to 2-2.
Yeah, you did, especially when you thought you might have caught a break on the 0-2 call when they appeal and it went to 1-2. Now you feel, oh yeah, you know what? I'm kind of back into this situation now.
Strike three. Boy, Smith didn't even know there.
No.
McClellan took his time. He indicated strike three a couple seconds later. In the inning, the Rockies get another run. It's now a 7-6 ball game. Colorado Rockies baseball on FSN is brought to you by the Great Colorado Payback, reuniting you with your money. By Quikrete. Visit quikrete.com. Quikrete, it's what America's made of. And by the Courtyard by Marriott on the 16th Street Mall. Ask about our hometown sports package. Seventh inning, 7-6. The Rockies trying to come all the way back against the Dodgers. Dodgers got 7 in the 4th inning against Jorge De La Rosa. Rockies got 1 in the bottom half of that inning, 4 the next inning, and then 1 in the 6th. Jason Grilli in the top of the 7th. We'll see Casey Blake, Matt Kemp, and James Loney. 4th pitcher used this afternoon by Clint Hurdle. And one of the keys for Grilli, one of the keys for any pitcher, is to retire the first batter of an inning, and it's been a trouble spot for Jason. 9 of 18 first hitters have reached this year against Grilli. And he lays that one in there. It's 1-1. And another strike. One ball and 2 strikes on Blake. 1 for 3. Robbed of extra bases when Dexter Fowler ran into the center field wall catching a ball. Probably the best defensive play we've seen this afternoon, George.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not sure he knew it was coming here. He was just flying, and all of a sudden it was like, oops, time out, there's a wall here. I mean, he didn't affect anything of what he did.
No, he didn't get scared. That's one thing you look for from a young guy, is does he start to tiptoe once he feels the crunch of the warning track underneath his feet. Dexter didn't.
1-2, look out.
Oh, boy.
Man, that's in the same area that a fan got hit earlier. Everybody okay over there, Jeff?
Yeah, it hit in the seat, fortunately, but that was the same exact area. That one was in the 2nd row. The one earlier in the ball game was in the 3rd row.
Really working ahead of Blake, 1-2. Blake, one of the hottest hitters in the Dodger lineup, and that pitch just missed. How did he not swing at that?
Because it was so nasty and he knew he couldn't hit it. That's why. He goes, I can't hit this. I'm not going to swing it. Oh, come on, Timmy. That was a ball, wasn't it?
That had to be the strategy. A lot of life on that fastball at 94 from Grilli. Well, this is what good hitters do when they're in a good place. They
Yeah, and
waste
you know
all
what?
your good darts.
And when you're in a kind of a grumpy place as a pitcher, they do this to you too.
Yeah.
You know, when you're going good, you can hang that slider and they pop it up, or you get a fastball and they pop it up. But when you're going bad, you even make a nasty pitch and they seem to get the base hits.
And he's going to win the battle. Good pitch, fastball away. And Jason Grilli gets a tough customer in Casey Blake. 1 out. And that'll bring up Matt Kemp.
Hey, let's talk about the suites here at the ballpark. If you'd love to entertain some people, this is a great place to do it at Coors Field. Party facilities, picnic areas, they offer unique atmosphere designated to fit any event, any banquet. So call 303-312-2444. Make sure you ask about the buy one, get one offer that the Rockies have now.
Matt Kemp takes ball 1. Kemp in the ball game, an RBI single, his first RBI in 10 games. He's 1 for 3. Kemp's hit a couple of grand slams this year. One against the Rockies. He also hit one May 7th against the Nationals.
Good outing by Fogg, too. Got 3 quick outs, got back up here, you know, and they just worked through it, get that offense back in the dugout, chance to win a ball game.
You bet. He did a terrific job.
Yeah, it's got to feel great for Josh Fogg to be back in the big leagues, looking around in a dugout. Familiar people, familiar ground where he's had success as a player.
3-0 on Kemp. I'm surprised at that. I'm really surprised. I know Matt can hit the ball as far as anybody just about baseball, but now all of a sudden a 1-run game. You surprised he was firing there, Jeff?
I am, because the thing about it is, even if he gets some first with a walk, he has the ability to steal a base.
Yeah.
Now Joe Torre, I looked straight down in their dugout. He turned and went right to Don Mattingly. Had a little conversation about the whole deal.
Kemp just walked on that pitch, so he goes to first with 1 out.
Well, it could have been one of those situations, too, where Larry Bowa didn't really feel like he had to give him the sign. It was almost an automatic, but that's where you can't assume anything, even at the major league level.
So Kemp at first, James Loney at the plate. He's been impossible today. He's 3 for 3. Line drive single to left. Hard ground ball single through the hole between short and third. And a low line drive scorcher between short and third. Kemp has 9 stolen bases. He's been caught just twice.
Nice pick from Atkins.
Yeah, it gets by Addy.
Yeah.
The next guy who's got to play is Mariano Duncan. I don't think he's going to make it for you.
No, I think he'll just get out of the way, and then it kicks over here, and no telling how far Kemp can go.
Ball 1. This is a perfect hit and run guy.
Well, it is, and as a middle infielder, am I thinking, okay, is he going to, I got to look at the pitch. Should I change coverage? Is the second baseman cover and leave the hole over there?
I mean, you know how often you guys point out the, open mouth, closed mouth. This is where, as you point out here, you maybe change up and go opposite because of his ability and the frequency that he uses the off gap.
And he's hit over there 3 times already. So I'm going to look and see if he goes fastball away. I might say the second baseman's got it and work it that way. If it's a slider, then the shortstop would have it. But seeing how far Ian Stewart is over in the hole leads me to believe that they'll probably go ahead and cover with Troy.
2 balls and a strike. And that misses. Now it's 3-1.
You know, you and I talked about this a little bit before the ball game, and I said, you know, who's the boss in the middle of the infield, the closed mouth, open mouth, because it's got to be confusing if you look at one guy's doing one thing, one's the other one. You know, like, wait a minute, I got it. No, I got it. No, you take it. I mean, and the shortstop typically should be the boss of the situation, I would think.
Yeah, but right now, Clint's making the coverage calls.
There goes the runner. Doesn't matter. Ball 4. So Grilli, after getting the first man, Blake, has walked 2 in a row. And Jamie Hoffman, the rookie, coming up. Bob Apodaco is going to saunter out to the mound.
To go back to your point just a second ago, George, you're right. Typically, it is the shortstop that would make the call. And for me, I always like to think that I made the call. The other guy just shook his head in agreement. And I did it after I saw what pitch was being thrown. I didn't call it too early and just say automatic with the lefty. The shortstop's got it. With the righty, the second baseman has it.
Hey, Tim, let me ask you. A minute ago, you made a comment that Clint was making the coverage calls.
Yes.
I mean, I know that they do a lot of the running game out of the dugout with Tracy. But as you see, Embry going down to get loose. But Clint will do some calls as far as coverage of who takes the ball on a double play or on the throw.
Well, on the throw from the catcher, he was making the call then to Troy. And typically I've seen Troy do it, so I'm a little I'm wondering why in this particular instance that Clint was making the calls. As far as going back to the pitcher, you always know when you always look back at the shortstop and second baseman. I got that.
Yeah, pitcher-wise, obviously you want to know who you're going to because you want to know where to lead.
Right.
So Hoffman at the plate. Tough man to double. He's got very good speed. Pops it foul out of play.
28 stolen bases a year ago while in Double-A. He was caught, I think, 8 or 9 times. A non-drafted free agent. How about that? Isn't that nice to see? That's some pretty good scouting work there.
Another guy that's big, but runs a lot faster than his size would lead you to believe.
Yeah, they got forearms like a lumberjack.
Yeah, they got some athletes, the Dodgers. That's fouled off 0-2. I mean, Kemp's a big man. He runs well. Russell Martin, the catcher, he runs well.
Dude, he's got forearms like you. Look at those things. Those are the guys. I used to sit around and I looked at like Steve Garvey and all those guys used to do the curl of the weights and things. Man, they had huge wrists, hands were strong, forearms were unbelievably strong.
That's a hockey background too for this kid. Here's the 0-2 on Hoffman, and he just did get a piece.
Yeah, it's got to be hard for him coming in here too. I mean, Jeff, he's never seen any of these guys. He's got to rely on Don Mattingly, guys that have the reports on these certain pitchers. You know, I think one thing that does help their ball club a little bit is Mark Sweeney's sitting up here in the broadcast area today, but he's in uniform before. You know, Mark is a pinch hitter, knows every pitcher in this league to go over with some of these young guys.
1-2.
Well, you got to be careful. Matt Kemp was dancing off of second base. I mean, he was just trying to time Jason Grilli.
And he has stolen third against the Rockies this year.
And a 1-2 count. Typically a slider off-speed type of count.
You like the inside move here, George?
Yeah. I mean, just double check it. I mean, on a 1-2. I mean, I don't dancing around all over the place. That hole's huge on the right side. It's you know, it's Clint tightening everything up, trying to hold him too. You know, one of the pickoffs I used to love, Jeff, was the no look and the catcher drop of the pitcher at the mitt. I love that move.
You don't see that too often
Not
anymore.
very often. No, they don't do it anymore, but it's kind of like the ultimate of a little bit of a surprise here, and it's all about timing.
Line drive right field, and it gets by Brad Hall. Kemp's going to score. James Loney's going to get a stop sign from Larry Boa. And it is 8-6. That was one of those plays in the outfield, Jeff, where you got to make a quick decision. Do you sell out and try to dive and make the catch, slide and make the catch, or do you field it on a hop and make sure you keep it in front?
Well, and he chose to dive after it, and I thought it was the right play because his ball hung up long enough. It didn't hit the ground. He had a chance if he works his glove up underneath it. I mean, this ball just goes underneath his glove. Didn't get quite down far enough.
You know, it's not often from a right-handed bat to the right side that you see a humpback liner like that.
Yep.
You know, that ball looked like it had a lot of top spin coming off of the bat. How about the day this kid's had? 2 RBIs today, 4 yesterday. Is any good, Drew, for a couple of day and a half of work?
Yeah, that's pretty good stuff. And right now, you have 1 out, 2 more runners in scoring position. You did great work to get back in this game, and now you may find yourself down by 4. Here comes Hoffman to the plate. He's going to score easily. And now it's a 4-run deficit again. This inning, after Jason Grilli got the leadoff man, Casey Blake, has turned sideways. And the walks to Kemp and Loney have really killed the Rockies.
Now, the bottom of this lineup has really hurt the Rockies. The base hit, the couple by Castro to drive in, another one here. And then Hoffman's couple, you know, with his fly ball and the base hit too, Jeff. It's been a big part of this game, the bottom end of this rotation, bottom end of the lineup.
Yeah, 4 RBIs between those 2 guys, but it comes back to walks. You get Casey Blake and then back-to-back walks where you don't give your defense a chance to help you out, and then they come back to score.
So Clint Hurdle is going to go to the mound. 10-6 Los Angeles. Alan Embry will be next. Alan Embry is now on. He replaces Jason Grilli. There's 1 out here in the 7th inning. 3 runs in for the Dodgers. Well, Houston Street came running in from the bullpen. Houston must have great eyes. I think he believes that Jamie Hoffman missed third. George, let's see if we can tell on this replay.
Well, he's way inside of it there.
Did he get the corner?
Yeah, it looks like he got the corner right there. I mean, you just kind of see it. It looks that way.
Well, I mean, Ted Barrett is the third base umpire. It's worth an appeal.
Well, yeah, absolutely it is. Actually, Houston made that phone call looking down in there, and I mean, grabbed it quickly and let him know. Let's see what happens. I mean, why not appeal it?
There was a guy for the Mets the other day.
Yeah, look here. He just saw it on obviously down there, and then he's going to take off and go over, and he's going to call right now.
You're going to tell Jimmy Wright.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not going to appeal it.
They're not appealing.
Huh.
Well, yeah, it doesn't cost anything to appeal.
Yeah, just step off, throw over, and see if he really did or not. Teddy Barrett's over there.
Yeah, Ryan Church missed third the other day in a ball game.
You know, the only thing I could think if they did do it is if Stewart saw him touch it. You know what I mean? If Stewart says, no, hey, he got the inside part of the bat.
And that's one thing you look for as an infielder.
This is Will Oman at the plate. Torrealba is not going to have a play at second. Castro still runs pretty well. So with 2 outs, Juan Pierre will come up for the 5th time in the game. He is 1 for 4. 3-run triple back in the 4th. Boy, it's just like a punch to the gut. You know, you get the wind knocked out of you. Rockies had the momentum, for what that's worth in baseball. Down 7-0 after 4, looking like it's going to be a long day. And they counter with 6 runs over the next 3 innings to get within a run. And then they give them 3 runs back. It's far from over, but they've made it very difficult again on themselves. Here's Embry's pitch to Pierre. That's in there for a strike.
Well, there's only so many times you should have to counterpunch. You get the opportunities, and I still go back to some of the wasted opportunities against Stoltz earlier in the game.
Yeah, the bottom line is 10 runs, 12 hits, 2 walks in that inning. You just got to play better than that. You got that. That's not big league. That's not. Is it going to happen in the course of 162 games? You bet it is. It has happened far too frequently in 44 games so far this year for the Rockies, and that is why they're 7 games under 500. This is on the ground deep in the hole, and Tulowitzki's going to eat the baseball. The only play that he potentially would have had is to third with the runner crossing in front, but of course Stewart's seeing if he can get to the baseball. So, you know, Juan just hit it in the perfect spot.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, it's just out of the reach of Stewart. He went over to go get it, and you see there's just nobody occupying the third base side to go and make a play on it. Yeah, good read. You know, and all of a sudden, first and third, you got to respect the fact too that Pierre, with 2 outs, could make the move and try to get even with a left-hander on the mound. And the guy has stole 9 bases this year. He's been caught 4 times. Juan Pierre. Hey, does it make it any easier for him, Jeff, because you've got a veteran guy on the mound versus a young kid you might not know the move as well?
Yeah, it does help because you already know how his move is, both to the plate and throwing over. You've seen him enough that you already have in your memory bank what's going to happen. And to top of that off, you know, Juan Pierre, the way he studies guys, studies films as a hitter and as a base runner.
The Dodgers 8 for 13 today with runners in scoring position. The Rockies 3 for 10.
8 for 13.
Yeah, big number.
That is a big number. Here's the 1-strike pitch to Russell Martin. And it's now 0-2. Pierre takes off, and this is chopped to. Yeah, the only guy who's going to have a play on that was Tulowitzki. Huey, is there a time, you know, you taught as a third baseman all you can get, but is there a time a shortstop will call you off?
There is a time, but that's one of those instances. Even if he gets it, the only play he's going to have is going to be over to first base, and then the third baseman, when you start to dive, it might have been too late. He might have called him off at that instance, but when you dive, you don't think, well, pulling my arm back and not trying to catch the baseball. Well, we've seen Stewie do this before, where he's on his backside. If he comes up and makes the transfer, to throw from his seat of his pants.
It's going to be hard to get a guy like Russell Martin.
Yep.
Well, I mean, you know, too, you see shortstop calling him off on that ball. That would have been pretty hard to do. I mean, because he's diving after everything, and he's already made his move on it. To let the thing go through after he'd already got there, I think, don't you?
Yeah.
Back-to-back infield hits have produced another run for the Dodgers. Turned into a 4-run inning, and this is starting to fall under the same category that 4th inning did. Rockies could not minimize the damage. And they find themselves down 11-6. And they've hit around again. Orlando Hudson's the 9th man to hit. almost looked like a cross-up. That's by the reaction. On a wild pitch, everybody moves up 90 feet. Juan Pierre to third, Russell Martin to second.
Now let's watch and see where this ball goes, because it's got to miss a lot of legs down there. Now that's just a slider that hit it way out in front of the plate and just ricocheted on a wild pitch.
One 1-0 on Orlando Hudson. Two balls and no strikes. Dodgers have owned the NL West so far this year, leading the division by 7.5 over the surprising Padres, who've won 9 straight. Longest winning streak in the National League by any team this year. And this is back up the middle, and it's going to sneak on through and score 2 more runs. This is unbelievable. 6-run inning here. And the last 3 balls, if you strung them together, you wouldn't be able to reach an outfield fence.
Well, even this ball right here, right? I mean, by Hudson.
That ball was up, Jay, and it appeared to be cutting in on him. He just opened that front side up, got his hands tight to the body. He just was able to kind of muscle that ball up the middle versus putting a clean swing on it. But nonetheless, it ends up. And 29 RBIs now for Hudson. Well, they've batted around again. That's something we've had to say twice today, and that's not fun.
Casey Blake hits it in the air to deep right center field. I don't think anybody's going to catch this one. Off the base of the wall, Hudson gets a green light. He's going to score. It's another 7-run inning. 7 in the 4th, 7 in the 7th, 14-6. That's 4 innings in 8 days where the Rockies have given up 7+ runs.
Now that's just fastball up and away from him, just smoked into right center field. Apodaca and Hurdle visiting in the dugouts, trying to figure out where to turn next. And that ball about 5 feet from leaving the yard, played by Fowler off the wall.
Matt Kemp with his second appearance this inning. He walked earlier and scored. 16 hits for the Dodgers. You know, the Rockies have counterpunched, and you give them a lot of credit for that to get within 7-6. But they just have 6 hits in this game.
Well, to go along with 9 walks.
I mean, the Dodgers have been trying to say, hey, you know, we'll get you back in it. 9 walks. Yeah, 9 walks by the Dodgers.
Put a red ribbon on it with some wrapping, huh, Joe?
Yep. You look up there, 2 7 spots, so.
Yeah, it really hurts. And that'll give me a real quick chance to tell you all about the Rockies. If you don't want to follow them or can't follow them on the FSN or on the radio with Jeff and Jack, you can turn it over to your iPod and the iPod Touch with MLB.com @bat 2009. Check that out at ColoradoRockies.com.
And this is going to get through. And another run. Casey Blake comes around on the Kemp base hit. 8-run inning.
Well, all with 2 outs, too. I mean, that's the frustrating thing. You're thinking about those runs coming with after the sacrifice, and then all of a sudden all these base hits off of Allen Embry. 4 singles, make that 5 singles and a double against Embry.
Well, earlier in the ballgame, the Dodgers tied their season high for runs in an inning with 7. They've now eclipsed it. James Loney's not been retired in the ballgame. 3 for 3 and a walk. Nobody warming in the Rockies bullpen. Rockies really don't have many options down there. Flores pitched well yesterday. They'd like to keep him on an every other day basis if possible. Street's your 9th inning closer, and you used him the last 2 days. You're not going to put him in this ball game.
Nope.
Grilly's been in. Fogg's been in.
Corpus is the only.
been
Corpus is the other guy that has a chance. That may just have to eat up some innings.
But then the problem is you send him out there for a couple innings, and then you lose him for the following.
Well,
right?
yeah, you know what, though? If you got to make some switches after that, you do it. You know what I mean? If you got to have an arm down in the bullpen, you do it.
We haven't seen it in a long time, and I hope not to see it today. But if the Rockies don't score in the bottom of the 7th, you may be, if you're Clint Hurdle, and depending on what Embry can give you, may be forced to throw a position play.
Yeah. Well, you ain't got a whole lot of those left either. Excuse the ain't, but you got Quintanilla or Phillips.
Well, you put Quintanilla in, maybe throw Barmes or something like that. I mean, that's how preposterous the situation is.
I don't like that. I mean, I understand trying to save the bullpen and all that, but I was with Canseco when he went in to try to pitch, thinking he was going to, and he ended up blowing out his arm.
Yeah, he thought it was all going to be funny, didn't he?
Right. Yeah, and then he had to have Tommy John surgery. So that's the thing about it. We joke about it, and some position players have done it. They like to do it. We saw a few Nick Swisher do it earlier this year, but to me, it's just kind of a scary proposition.
And this is going to keep the inning going. Tough chance for Barmes. Loney is aboard. Kemp goes first to third. Embry is throwing 20 pitches. And the thing about Embry is he has a very fragile lower back. I mean, he has been down a number of days over the last couple of weeks. You're not talking about a 24, 25-year-old guy. You know, to your point earlier, Jeff, about Corpus. Corpus' last couple outings have been better. Did a terrific job yesterday in a setup role in the 8th inning, and somebody just tossed him a baseball, I believe. My eyes, yeah, there he is going to the bullpen. He may be forced to throw, and as you said, if he has to throw a lot, what if you know, tomorrow's a tight ball game and you'd like him to get a hold in the 8th inning and he's not around.
And then the other thing too is yesterday he came into a tight ball game 3-1 and pitched well. So you're thinking, well, maybe he's back on track. Maybe he's back to that bridge guy before you get to Houston Street. Well, what happens if he has to come out in this ball game? You're already down by a number of runs, and he goes out and gives up 3 or 4 runs because the game's out of hand. Where does that put him? Does it set him back 2 steps?
Yeah, all those things the manager has to factor. 0-2 on Jamie Hoffman. That play by Barmes was scored in error. 3rd error on the season for Clint, 2nd at second base. Did that ball hit the lip?
Yeah, it did a little bit, and then it checked up on him, hit him off the heel of his glove. But it's one of those ones, you're out here for about 35 minutes. Maybe the concentration wasn't quite there. I mean, that's no excuse. You still have to make the play.
These are 2 half innings that have been, he could have gone and seen Gone with the Wind twice. Strike 3. In the inning, the Dodgers score 8 runs, and what was a 7-6 game when the inning began is now a 15-6 affair. We stick around here on Memorial Day for God Bless America. Staff Sergeant Francis Ness.
Please rise as we honor our great country by the performance of God Bless America. Performing God Bless America today, representing the United States Air Force Academy Band, is Staff Sergeant Francis Ness. Please welcome Staff Sergeant Ness and join her by singing along to God Bless America.
God bless America, land that beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
In the bottom of the 7th inning at Coors Field with George Frazier and Jeff Hewson and Mark Stout, I'm Drew Goodman. Rockies gave up 7 runs in the 4th inning, and they closed to within 7-6. But in the top of the 7th inning, the Dodgers got 8 runs. Will Oman still in the ball game. Omar Quintanilla is going to pinch hit here for Brad Hopp. Garrett Atkins on deck. $37,024. Nice Memorial Day crowd. That's fouled off. 2 balls and a strike. We wish the Denver Nuggets good luck tonight as they try to even that series with the Lakers across the way at Pepsi Center. I know Joe Torre is on his way there.
That whole dugout's going. They've all got tickets that they're heading over there, and a lot of guys in their broadcast are heading that way to watch the game.
Earlier, Joe was asked if he was concerned with all the weather, whether he'd get there for the tip, and he said, yeah, I guess that's a possibility. We may have some rain delays today. It hasn't been rain delays, it's been run delays. Here's the 3-1. 3-2. Joe being politically correct. He's become a Laker fan. Grew up a Knicks fan. Do you remember when Phil Jackson was running around in shorts for the Knickerbockers in the early 70s?
Yeah, they were short.
They were really short.
They didn't have any baggy stuff, you know. They had, and their tops were really tight.
You know, Phil Jackson was a nice role player back then. He's become a far better coach.
The old wool socks.
Yeah.
How about that? How about the suede shoes?
It's in the air to left field and also will reach the seats. Omar Quintanilla is such a professional. Talking to Richie Dower about his hardest workers, and that's ball 4. And he's first name out of his mouth, and it's not to say that Clint Barmas and Troy Tulowitzki and all those other infielders don't work hard, because they do. They all work very hard. But Omar Quintanilla was the first name out of his mouth, Jeff Houston. And you and I and George are around the club all the time, and that wasn't a surprise.
No, and that just shows you the respect that Q has for the game, but also the difficult role he's in. But he goes out there and he says, you know what, I'm a professional. I'm going to go about my business.
We've got another pitching change. 15-6 LA.
And back at Coors Field, 15-6. Dodgers with a lead over the Rockies here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Quickly, the Geico quote of the day, staying with our Memorial Day theme with ball players that were veterans. It comes from Hugh McCulhey, who was the first guy drafted for World War II. And he said, "My losing streak is over for the duration. I'm on a winning team now." That's because his nickname was Hugh Losing Pitcher McCulhey of the Phillies. The Phillies were a poor baseball team in the late 30s and early 40s. And he actually went 45 and 89, even though he was an all-star one year, because, and George can relate to this, in one of those years, the Phillies won 45 games when he won 10 of them, as Atkins skies went here to right. So that's our Geico quote of the day from Hugh Mulcahy, the first big league player drafted into World War II. Drew?
That's a great story, too. How about Steve Carlson? The year they won 54, I think he won 27. Like 27-3. Lefty, call me. You're in Durango. You'll let us know.
Yeah, you know what, McCulhey then a couple of years after that went 13 and 22. George, in a year they won 50 games.
Wow.
That's why they gave him that nickname, but he was happy to go into the service, and actually was a pretty good pitcher and a guy that was respected in some of the things I read when he was in the service and in the armed forces with the other players. They really looked up to other guys, looked up to him.
Ronald Belisario, thank you, Mark, is the new pitcher. He leads the Dodgers in appearances. He's a rookie. His first big league win on April 30th. Barmas at the plate, takes 2-0. You know, the Dodgers in this game look like they're going to walk at least 10, because that's where they are right now, and live to tell about it. In fact, perhaps win going away.
Well, 21 walks in a Major League Baseball game. I mean, that's you see that in rookie ball occasionally. You don't see it here.
I'm a little surprised Joe Torre just didn't start with Belisario in this inning. I mean, he had a 9-run lead. Why wait?
Well, you know, sometimes managers, you know, unfortunately don't think it far enough ahead. Maybe he wasn't ready. You know, maybe they didn't get him up in time. You know,
maybe he wasn't thinking like that. That's true.
That's 11 walks. Harvey Torrealba will come up. Omen goes a third of an inning, a strikeout and 2 walks. Let's start the comeback again, huh? A little 3-run bomb. The day is young. What time's first pitch? It's the night game tomorrow night, right, Jeff?
Yeah, you got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Barbecue can wait for a few more minutes. The rain's going to hold off, it looks like.
In the air to right field, Hoffman. 2 outs. Now Matt Merton. Merton had a double his last time up. 1 for 2 since entering the ball game. Joe Torre coming to Denver since he was a kid when his brother Frank played here. A hard comebacker by Merton. Belisario got that one in self-defense and throws him out. 7 innings completed. Coors Field, 15-6, Los Angeles. Today's Momentum Shift brought to you by Nissan. Get to the Nissan National 10 event for great deals on reliable vehicles. The Rockies had closed to 7-6, but at the top of the 7th, the Dodgers scored 8 times on 7 hits. I don't want to recount it for you. You saw it, and if you did, you'd rather not see it again. Juan Castro lead off against Manuel Corpus, and the first pitch is on the ground to short. Belisario is going to hit for himself here in the 8th inning naturally. Quick check. Belisario is 0 for 1 this year. Takes the strike. Done a nice job on the hill this year for the Dodgers. 2.45 ERA, 25 2/3. He struck out 25, allowed just 20 hits. Kept the ball in the ballpark, just a couple of home runs. A couple changes for the Rockies. Omar Quintanilla, if you look at Manny's numbers, Omar Quintanilla is now at third. Ian Stewart is in right field. And that's all for Belisario.
That was quick.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
It's a guy that can't hit, make it quick, and don't make a fool of yourself and go sit back down. Doesn't always work out that way, though.
Nope.
Juan Pierre has done damage today. 2 for 5, 3 RBIs, couple of runs scored. And it's on the ground to second.
The important thing there, Drew, 8-pitch inning for Corpus. He doesn't get extended a whole bunch.
Nope. 15-6. Colorado Rockies baseball on FSN is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Southwest has low fares with no hidden fees, where what you see is what you pay. By Comcast Digital Home Phone Service. Warm up to unlimited local and long distance. Call 1-800-COMCAST. By Big Brothers Big Sisters. Donate your car and you'll get a free tow and tax break, and you'll help change a kid's life. And by Mike Shaw Chevy Saab, Colorado's crossover and SUV headquarters for 50 years. Visit MikeShawAuto.com. Belisario ready to go to Dexter Fowler in the bottom of the 8th inning. Dex has had a solid ball game. He's 1 for 2 and a pair of walks, so he's been on base 3 times. That's what you want from your leadoff man. Here's the 1-0, and this is on the ground to second. Orlando Hudson.
I tell you what, James, I thought he made a big mistake there with that kind of speed, because he ran late, Jeff, that Hudson was going to get the baseball, and then he was late getting back to the bag.
Yeah, and he should have just either let Belisario get it or should have kept going and tried to get this ball.
Yeah. See the move over? Yeah.
He took over there and then went back, and then he just dropped it. You look at it, first error on the year for Loney. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. The throw was there. He just blows the glove too soon. Hyundai Cam will show this. He sticks his hand out there just fine, and then right off the
it looked
edge.
like he hit on the lip.
Yeah,
right like a cutter at the very end. I mean, watch this. Watch this. Yeah, right on the end of, like, oopsie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a whole lot of concentration there.
No. That's just losing your concentration.
Tulowitzki at the plate is behind 0-2. Tulowitzki has walked twice in this game. Nice turn around the horn by the Dodgers. 5-4-3. That'll bring up Ian Stewart with 2 outs and nobody on. It'll also take us to Mark Stout with this afternoon's great Colorado payback sideline report. Mark.
Thank you, Drew. Quick story why Ian Stewart wears number 9. Rockies fans know that's Vinny Castilla's number. Well, 9 was his favorite number in Little League. He couldn't wear it in high school because Gerald Laird, who you just saw with the Tigers over the weekend, had that number in high school. They went to the same high school together. It was retired. He couldn't wear it. Didn't wear it in the minor leagues. Had 24 when he came up. Jamie Quirk left. And he finally was able to go to Vinny Castilla and say, can I wear 9? And Vinny said, sure. So that's why he wears number 9. Just a little story for you here late in the game. Drew, George?
Well, I told a story yesterday about Gerald Laird. He's playing now for Detroit. Came up with Oakland. This ball's in the air to deep right center field. And it's going to die at the 375 mark. Anyhow, Laird still owns the California record in high school for most hits in a career, 210. That's why his numbers retired at La Quinta High School in Orange County. Out hit the Rockies 17-6. Tom Helmer will sort out this mess in the postgame report, won't you, Tom?
Well, we'll try. After the game, we'll get into the clubhouse for some reaction on this game. We'll also talk about feeling blue, how the Dodgers have had the Rockies number not only this year, but since the end of last year, and also Brad to the bone. We're going to talk about Brad Hopp and his dominance against the Dodgers, although it wasn't enough today. He had a great outing. We'll talk all about that in the postgame show.
You know, Tom, that sounded a little bit like George Thorogood.
That's what I was going for. I'm glad you picked up on it.
Wow.
I nailed it then.
Well, yeah, sort of. Tommy, we'll see you in a little bit, bud.
You got it.
All right. Russell Martin in the top of the 9th inning against Manuel Corpus. Martin, a couple hits at 5 at-bats, 2 RBIs. And this one is hit foul. The Dodgers have walked 11 Rockies today. Amazing. George.
Yes, sir.
Padres 1-10, 9-7 down
Whoa,
in Chase Field. That's 10 in a row for San Diego.
Well, yeah,
I mean there were some people who think they'd win 10 ball games the first 2 months of the year.
Yeah, they're swinging the bats. 9 runs today.
Guess who swung the bat again today?
Let me guess. Mr. Gonzalez.
17th home run.
Well, that ties Ibanez with the lead because Ibanez has 17 in Philly.
You know, don't look now. It's not even the warm months yet. They're on pace to hit 60 plus.
Amazing. Now they're getting a little bit of pitching. I mean, that's going to go a long ways. And, you know, maybe it's one of those deals. Peavy rejected the trade to the White Sox. Said he wanted to stay there.
It's getting interesting. Maybe he'll stick around a little longer, huh? Aaron Harang beat Wandy Rodriguez today. Cincinnati over Houston 8-5.
Cincinnati's playing better baseball.
You know what? Dusty's got a nice pitching staff.
St. Louis, Milwaukee. How about that one? 1-0.
Orlando looks at that one. 1-1. Let's take a look at our Quest in-game box for the Dodgers. A lot of guys with multi-hit efforts. Hoffman had only 1 hit, but he had a couple RBIs because he also had a sac fly in there. Orlando Hudson got a hit in the 4th inning. He got one later on in the 7th. He now has a 15-game hitting streak. Good fastball from Corpus, and he strikes out Hudson.
Yeah, he really did get after it too. Hard sink down and away at 93 miles an hour. And what's impressive for me right now is 11 strikes, only 3 balls. I realize this ball game's out of hand at 15-6, but it is easily 2. You could give away a lot.
Bell, George, by the way, in that Padre win, got his 13th save.
He's only given up 1 run all year.
He's been terrific. Giants beat the Braves 8-2. Sanchez over Vasquez. Travis Ishikawa finally hit one out, his first of the year. Blake fouls it off. Phillies leading the Marlins early on. Mets and Nationals no score in the 2nd. Pirates and Cubs tonight. Brewers beat the Cardinals 1-0 in 10. Billy Hall got the game-winning hit. Martin at first. Here's the 1-1 outside. Athletics beat the Mariners 6-1. Jojima a home run for Seattle. Buck a home run for Oakland. Rays in the 3rd inning leading Cleveland 7-0. David Price, George, on the hill for Tampa.
Well, get that chance. The big guy is surprised it took this long for him to get back to the big leagues after he was such a huge part of everything he did in the playoff run and then during the playoffs. And I guess they wanted to go down, get some innings, get stronger, and then bring him in.
White Sox Angels tonight. Orioles beat the Jays 4-1. Here's the 3-1, and that's in there for a strike. 3-2. Yankees beat up the Rangers 11-1. Yankees really playing good baseball. A-Rod had 5 hits in that ball game. It was Hughes over Harrison. The only home run was Nelson Cruz with his 12th for Texas. Slowly hit to 3rd. Quintanilla with his soft hands makes the play. Martin to 2nd. 2 outs. That'll bring up Matt Kemp. Kemp in the ball game, 2 for 4 and a walk. He has a couple of singles and a pair of RBIs. He's got 27 ribbies on the year. Tigers bounce back after losing 2 in a row to the Rockies. They beat up the Royals in Kansas City at Kauffman Field today, 13-1. Verlander 5-2. Gilmesh took the loss. He's 2-5. They out-hit Kansas City 19-7. Gerald Laird, we were just talking about him, right? Hit his 2nd home run of the year. He was hot against the Rockies. Kemp, an inside-out swing. That's a base hit. And Martin, I think, just ran through a Larry Boa stop sign. Larry Boa was...
Well, it's common courtesy of the game.
It is. He's been on the other side of this, and I don't think Martin's intending to rub it in. I mean, he's clearly going to score standing up. And
well, I think that's what Larry Boa, you mentioned the stop sign. Let's take a look at it, see if he can catch Larry staying in a shot coming around. I mean, he kind of waved and then put the hand out. It was kind of the old Don Zimmer where you had to stop and go at the same time, you know. Zim said, at least I was never wrong that way. I'd have a stop sign up and just send him and go, hey, I stopped him, you know, if he gets thrown out. He ran right through it. Well, he sent him. It was a great move. Zimmer had one of the easiest bunt signs, folks, in all of baseball. All he did was touch his belt. And that meant bunt. You know, B for belt, bunt, B for bunt. And
no
I said,
indicator?
Zim, is that for all the players? He goes, no, it's for me. I don't. That way I can't screw it up.
No indicator, no white ball.
No, just touch the belt. You're going to stick. Yeah. I remember one time Billy Martin had a sign that if he leaned against the pole, he wanted a squeeze. And I think it was Ken Griffey Sr. One of those guys was up, and Winfield was on 3rd. And Zimmer looks. He's leaning against the pole. He's all right. Gives a squeeze. gets thrown out at home plate. Guy misses the slider. They tag the guy out. Billy comes in. What are you doing? He said, well, if you leaned against the pole, it was a squeeze. And he goes, oh, yeah, I forgot. The whole dugout just erupted and laughing. We were at Tiger Stadium in that one of those little bitty dugouts.
That was the last ball game. The leaning against the pole.
Yeah,
was
I mean,
squeeze,
with the guy on third, yeah, he kind of stayed away from the poles. Drew, something's getting ready to happen because that temperature has dropped about 15 degrees here at the ballpark.
And it's gotten a little darker. James Loney with a 2-1 count. That's a strike, 2-2. Something about Coors Field. James Loney is now 10 for 15 at Coors Field this year.
Wow.
And in his career, George, he was coming in hitting 363 here with 30 RBIs in 22 ball games. Now, he has 3 hits this afternoon, and he reached on an error, and he also walked. He hasn't driven any more in.
What was the big day? What was it, like 7 RBIs, 9 RBIs?
9 RBIs.
9 RBIs here in his rookie year. Wasn't it like first, second game he ever played in?
Yeah, I mean, he'd been up for a few days, and he had 9 ribbies here. This is pulled foul.
Jacob sitting up here in the booth with us. He looked at me and he goes, that was a good game. That I consider that a good game. Well, 9 ribbies.
9.
Woo, man, the only other guy that did something like that was Sammy Sosa when he had 3 home runs and had 9 RBIs.
And then sat down.
And then took it out after the 5th inning. So I'm done. Gotta go.
I was telling that story to Don Baylor the other day. Don had 3 home runs in a game once. This ball is Garrett Atkins, and that's all for the Dodgers in the 9th. They get another run. They lead it 16-6. ...2009, and a big thank you once again to all the men and women who serve our country. And we pause today, as we should on every day, and remember those who have served and not made it back from foreign conflicts and continue to battle these days in Iraq and in Afghanistan. In the 9th inning, Guillermo Mota will take the baseball for Joe Torre. Joe's going to shower, George, and head on over to Pepsi Center.
Well, you know, he's probably not got a seat. He probably doesn't have a seat up on the top row somewhere. He's probably got one of those suites maybe that they bought or something, or got a buddy in there that he's going to go jump in and kick his feet back and relax and have some pretty good food.
Well, I know another guy who's going, the manager for the Rockies, Clint, and his wife Carla heading over. They're huge Nugget fans. There's Paul Phillips. Paul's going to pinch hit here in the pitcher spot leading off the 9th. So he was just called up yesterday. Paul Phillips serving as the backup catcher with Ionetta on the disabled list. He'll back up Yorvi Torrealba. And one of the things about being a backup catcher, you know you're guaranteed to play, because short of when Jason Kendall was younger and Russell Martin maybe a year or two ago, the backup catcher is going to play every third or fourth ball game.
Yep, they sure are. I mean, particularly, you know, that Sunday game and the day games and those kind of things. They're going to get an opportunity to get out and play. And you can get a long time in the big leagues. You know, if you're one of those guys like Greg Zahn. I mean, he's been a regular, and I think he's in his 12th, 14th, 15th year now, and he's with Baltimore, backing up, waiting on Wieters to get up in June, like everybody's predicting. But he's made a nice career, got a nice pension he'll pick up at age 45. Sometimes just keep your mouth shut, play the game, play it right, and you'll be around for a long time.
And Phillips been in the big leagues before. And he's got himself a base hit. Nice piece of hitting, too, George. Reached out over the outside corner and drove it that way.
Yeah, hit over 300 at the AAA level before getting the call to come up.
Yeah, he was hitting 317. And the Rockies had some options. They had a guy who was up with them.
Bayerine. Yeah, was up earlier. And then they had, obviously, Sal Fasano to come up. But, you know, Clint made a great point today in his press conference that he has before every ball game. He just said, you know what? There's a lot of great guys, but if you're not doing it, we're not going to bring you. You know, but if you are doing it, then you need to get rewarded by that when the need happens.
Omar Quintanilla, deep short, and everybody's safe. That's a base hit for Q. Good job by Castro to get to the baseball. So Omar's coming to the ball game. He's walked and throwing out a base hit, and now Garrett Atkins will come up. For Garrett, he's 1 for 4, an RBI single, and at the time it was a huge RBI in the 5th inning. It closed the gap to 7-5. Capped off a 4-run 5th inning. The Rockies were down 7-0 after 4. Very strange ball game for De La Rosa. First 3 innings he was unhittable, 6 strikeouts, and then it fell apart for him in the 4th inning. He gave up 7, got only 1 out. But the Rockies closed to within 7-6, and then the Rockies fell apart in the 7th inning, and the Dodgers scored 8 runs. They got 4 off Jason Grilli, who went a third of an inning, and another 4 off of Alan Embry, who went 2/3. Guillermo Mota with a 1-1 count on Garrett Atkins. One final in the American League I failed to report. The Red Sox in Minnesota today. Minneapolis won 6-5. Brad Penny's 5-1, George.
Yeah, but you know what? He had a high earned run average, but had some wins early in the season. Now all of a sudden he's starting to pitch a little bit better, starting to get the outs. Yeah, you know you're going to have some offense there with the Boston Red Sox.
Did I say Minnesota won? Boston won 6-5.
Yeah, 6-5. Boston a winner. How many innings Penny go?
Let me look that one up for you. You know where he's from, George, by the way?
Not really.
He's from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
Really?
Yeah, it's a
you know where he lives?
of Tulsa.
He lives in Pawhuska, I think, now.
Got a little ranch there, doesn't he?
Yeah, big log cabin, a lot of deer. Big lake, too, with a lot of fishing.
2-2, pulled to third. I want to see great hands. A Gold Glove second baseman, Orlando Hudson. How fast was this transition?
And a very strong feed from Blake. I mean, that's what's perfect about this. You allow the guy to use the athleticism that he has. I'm talking about Hudson and his ability with his hands. The ball got to him quickly. It was a perfect throw to him, and it just allows him to utilize one of the big assets that he has. That's those quick hands. Strong arm.
Clint Barmas at the plate with 2 outs. By the way, in that ball game, Joe Mauer missed all of April, right? Joe Mauer hit his 11th home run. He's got a home run every ball game. 11 home runs, I think, closing in on 30 RBIs in the month of May, and he's hitting about 450. What a hitter Joe Mauer is. All right, it's 0-2. Penny went 5 1/3, 3 runs, 6 hits. George struck out 7, didn't walk anybody. good at.
Yep.
Mauer hit that home run. Frage, he didn't even start. I'm looking at the box score. He came on as a pinch hitter and hit a 2-run homer.
Tell you what, pretty phenomenal, huh?
He's hitting 444. 0-2 on Barmy. And Barmy fouls this one off. Keeping that at bat going against Mota. He's got 11 home runs and 31 RBIs this month. You think he's going to be the player of the month?
He's leading the pack right now.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have to do something pretty drastic to catch up or work that one.
Tomorrow's pitching matchup, by the way, Aaron Cook looking for his fourth victory against the left-hander Eric Milton. Rockies seeing nothing but left-handers from the Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw go on Wednesday. Ubaldo Jimenez for the Rockies. And this gets away. Phillips not going to move up. Martin scrambles to it. Yeah, crowd booing, but what are you going to gain there? I mean,
it's 15-6, 16-6. Excuse me.
You get thrown out in that situation. It's
forgot about that part. You know what? The taco thing.
Oh, Taco Bell.
That's
that would have been the
right.
7th run. That's what it's come down to today, huh?
Let's see.
You know what? Barmer's going to drive him in. Mark Stout, I was going to say out there with the masses. At one point it was masses, more than 37,000. Most have headed to a warmer climate.
Say that again. Yeah, that was the big comment when the ball rolled away from the plate. Tacos! Tacos! We want tacos.
Yeah, the diehards. Well, didn't happen. Barmes swings through that, and a long Memorial Day at the ball.